Hello, me lovelies. It's all been dramatic, hasn't it? All very, very, very dramatic. Anyway, hello, Carrie King. Oh, the more I see you, Carrie, I'm getting to like you. Hello, Neil on Mac. Matrix on PC. Another one I like. KR. So, of course, you can tell by the title what this is going to be about. Karma Corners, or that you can call it is, oh, for Frozen. Oh, we're frozen. Hiya, Heather. Karma Corners. Basic what I saw as a meltdown on the honest truth, which I got told about. Someone said, "Oh, you won't believe what's happened." And when they said Karma Corner, it turned on me. I thought, no way. I thought, I don't believe this. So I went and watched it. Well, I knew to believe because the person who told me wasn't someone that makes things up. And I went to see it, and it was going along between him and the criminologist that isn't a criminologist. And he was going on, having an argument with him. Then he was asking him for his acro. This Karma Corner asking the criminologist from Sacro, and the criminologist was being very evasive about it, wouldn't agree to putting this acro up. Surprise, surprise. I'm not one bit surprised by that. I'm going to show you not one bit surprised by why he wouldn't agree to have his acro up. And then all of a sudden, Bobby, Uncle Bobby, everyone's fearing Yorkshire about love and empathy. Yeah, I've got clips here, Uncle Bobby, where you're not being very loving and empathetic, haven't I? Yeah. And just let me one thing clear, he's making out that his that the Honest Truth channel was started up to give community a voice where truth was like, no, it wasn't. If you go back to the early videos, the very early ones, it was started up as a bullying campaign against me. They make it clear. Real easy. And they go on and about how they're going to be getting at me. And another thing to clarify on this, what is truth, I never told the police to call out to Uncle Bobby's address. I got a shock when he said that because I hadn't even made a statement. The reason I had to go to the police was because, as I say, they were threatening on the channel, which you'll see, to basically cyberbully me. His mate, Chris Hartley, was stalking me and making it known he was stalking me online. So I had to report to the police. I didn't even put a statement in, and suddenly Bobby's on there. Police called out. So I got right on to West Yorkshire Police, said, what the hell is going on here? You haven't even got a statement off me. Why the hell has a police officer called out? Well, all that I'm going to say, Bobby blatting that out, got that. Well, let's just put it this way. It wasn't a good thing to happen to that officer because that officer never recorded he'd called out to Bobby's house. Now, all that I can presume by that was that this officer was trying to warn Bobby for some reason. And if I'd put a statement in about Bobby and wanted the police to act on it, he would have been lifted by now. Well, by now. So I don't know whether it's his age or not, that there's a bit of dementia going on there, but he's talking through his backside. Let's put it that way. I did not tell the police to call out, and I actually got on to them and said, what's going on? I reported it to the police that they were threatening to cyberbully me. I didn't tell them to call out. I didn't even put a bleeding statement in. So just let's get that out the way. And I say this latest one, which was gutting for me because I really liked Karma Corner. I really, really did. And I always invested in him that he had intelligence, even though he's crude, very crude for my liking. But to hear him suddenly, when Bobby jumped in there, turn around, and if for anyone to see it, it's very vicious how he goes on. Just like that, he turns around and starts calling me that, it, whatever it is, which I found very, very hurtful. I actually invited him on. I was dying to get him on my channel so we could have some fun, because I thought this is a fun fella. He'll be a real laugh to talk to. So I was gutted when I heard this. And what he was basically saying was he was going to block me. He was going to block my emails. But before he said that, when he first said, well, I'm going to look into this, right? I'm going to have a look at this. I thought, I'll send him an email saying, you want to ask me any questions about this? Ask me. I'm willing to. But the moment he turned around and started saying, right, I'm blocking Anne, that thing, whatever it is, that's when he went over the line. And he knows he's gone over the line because he got in touch. I won't go on what he said in the email, but in the email, I could tell he was regretting what he'd done. But as I said to him, once you go over that line into hate speech, that's when the door is locked and bolted. Now, I'm telling you now, and I've said this before, my biggest foe ever on social media was a account called The Mouse. I'm only saying thing because it's an anon account. Right, The Mouse. Don't know whether it's a man or a woman. No one knows. Not once did The Mouse ever come out with hate speech. And he or she hated my guts. Hated my guts with a vengeance, but never crossed that line. So the doorway was always there for us to start talking. And we have had a bit of banter, very rarely, but we've had a banter because we still don't really like each other. But we've had that banter. But once you cross that line of going into hate speech, I put up with this for years, right? Abuse, and had to deal with on. And let's get this out about Jockney Sparrow. Now, Jockney Sparrow's channel, they're behaving themselves at the moment. It's not what it was before I kicked off. So I'm thankful to them for that. We'll never be friends, but I'm thankful that what they've done at Jockney Sparrow is there has been something said and they've started getting it under control. Because that was just hate in the live comments about me. And people remarking on it. They say, when you look at him when he's on there, all that's coming up in his life is hate against you. So when Carl McCunn was awful shocked that I didn't like Jockney Sparrow, he didn't know the half of it. And of course, Uncle Bobby, everyone's favourite, jumps in there and comes to save the criminologist's neck. And like that, Carl McCorn turned on me. Why? Well, all that I can presume is that he was sitting there, he was thinking, oh my God, Bobby could fall out with me. He likes Bobby, he loves Bobby. He trusts Bobby so much, he's going to send Bobby his acro and his address, name and address, and a picture of himself. Idiot. You've never met Bobby, you don't know him. Idiot. Look, people, you can have friendships on social media, but until you meet someone and know them, you can't trust them. You can't trust anyone. And just let's get that out there. You can't. And that's for the criminologist now is claiming, don't believe anything about me, because he lied through his teeth right to Karma Corner, lied through his teeth and said that he was not ordered to pay costs. Now, this is what you've got to be careful of. Pay costs to Sonia Polton, legal costs. Because what he did, and you can see I put on, go to my community page, right, people? Hi, Paris, just make sure you're watching the things, will you, darling? Might be some nasties coming in. But, right, I've lost my train of thought now. What was I talking about? It's gone. See, Paris means so much to me. She's in my finishing school. It's gone now. Let's get back onto track with it. Oh, yeah. It's in, if you look at my community page, it's in there. It's in the legal papers, the high court papers, that he had to pay legal costs of 6K to Sonia Poulton. He wanted, this is what he's like, right? Didn't I say about him? He was always trying to get compensation, getting other people to pay for his life that he messed up himself, but other people have got to pay for it. He wanted $500,000 compensation from Sonia Poulton. The judge literally ridiculed him in the hearing when he was saying, oh, he was distraught and all this. Now, I could go into what happened because there's no restrictions on me talking about what happened. What led to this high court? And he says also that I'm a poor man and I managed to. This is what he does. He twists everything to make it out that he's some kind of hero and he's a brave man and all this. No, he wasn't a poor man who, through stealth, got there. The judge said himself he was working with the ex-minister Hemming and others. There's to and fro going on. What you don't know, which I do know because I've seen parts of it, was the absolutely vile threats of that side that were going to, not from Lafferty, I'll put that way, not from Lafferty, but from the others, towards Mohammed Buss of BNT. I saw some of that. Vile threats, which you haven't heard about. But he still insists now he wasn't. He plays with words. This is what he does. And also, if Karma Corner is watching this, right, why don't you insist 100% that until he produces his acro, you're not going to have anything to do with him? Why do you think he was being so shady about the acro? And why was Uncle Bobby everyone's favourite Yorkshire man? Why was he jumping in there saying, oh no, he hasn't put his acro up online, but there's lots about it if you search for it? In other words, saying, oh, you don't need an acro. No, maybe you do, Karma Corner, maybe you do. Maybe you do. And he's got a reason. And this, he gets in with people. Look, let's put it this way. What did I turn around and say about him, people? What did I say? You'll see my video. I'm just so upset because I really liked Karma Corner. And this absolutely gutted me. Absolutely gutted me that he did that. What did I say in one of my videos? If Karma Corner can be asked actually doing this research before he proclaims someone to be fantastic and wonderful, right? And condemns someone else out of hand, right? Go and watch where I say and show the evidence that the criminologist contacted me first. I never contacted him. Sent me an email pretending he was down with the trans people because he thought I was transgender, which I'm not. I was all like, oh, I'm concerned about, Sonia Poulton. Have you heard the horrible things she's saying about the trans community? What was he doing? He was being a confidence trickster, trying to get in with me, hoping that I'd turn on Sonia Poulton. That's what he was doing. And when he realized that wasn't going to happen, then he showed his true colours. And if you want to see it like what he's like, go on my community page again and see what he was saying on Jockney Sparrow's channel. See what he said on other channels. Oh, he's down with the transgenders, is he? When he turns around, starts going on, it's a man, it's a man. I've never said I'm not a man. I've never said once. And I don't wear women's clothes either. And this is what you're up against. And lastly, before I introduce my first guest in here, let's talk about the umbles, right? Who were on there also ganging up on me, because that's what they do. They all get together and gang up, right? Donna, sweetie pie, darling, luscious, right? Get the tape evidence out there to prove what you're claiming, that you weren't trying to buy false information or get Darren G to come out with false information against Decca Heggie, right? Because you keep on saying the latest thing is Mr. Humble has come on and turned around and said, what you ask for and what you get are two different things because there's a court case. There's no court case. Liar. There's no court case. The fact is, you're making it look like that it was true what's been said about you, that you were trying to get him to come up with false information. And do you know what would have happened there, people, if Darren had done that? And he'd been insulted in a court case, right? And it'd been found out that he'd made things up or concocted it. Do you know where Darren would be now? Slammed up in prison for perjury. That's what would have happened. That's what the Humbles, they couldn't give a damn about what would have happened to him. And as much as I don't like Darren G, I wouldn't have someone put in prison to get at someone else because they've got a personal gripe against them. And what the hell is the gripe that they've got against him? Oh, he's done this, he's done that, the other. And explain away this having what looked like it must have been 50k in an envelope stuck in a drawer. What do you do as a job to get that? So there we are on the table. Come on, Donna, release the tape. There's no court case. You're a liar. And also, let's remember Geraldine. If it's true that you paid her to give that interview, that destroyed her chances. And I've said this in the past, it's destroyed her chances of ever getting justice. Once money changes hands, you're in trouble. You're in trouble in the courts. So where the hell they're helping victims, I don't know. From what I can see, they're endangering people like Darren G being put back in prison, and they've damn well stopped people like Geraldine getting any justice, if that's what they did. So I've got that out the way. So now, let's introduce my first guest. Now, here we are. Who is it? Oh, it's Corner Karma. It's Corner Karma. How the bloody hell did you get in here?
It's me again.
Oh, God.
Let's give people a bit of entertainment at the weekend, if nothing else, man.
Let's see what this little creep's saying. Here you are, creepy ass. So you're going to run away again, eh, when I invite you on, are you? Anne's angry because she can't bully us. Anne's saying nothing. Anne's not important. Yeah, you're going to run away again, you little coward. Scared of a thing that wears makeup. Eh? Go on, run away, you little mouse. Run away into your little hole with your little clipper. Go on. Anyway, saying that, here we go. Anyway, go on, Steve. Sorry, I had to do that.
No. Look, I mean, obviously, it's been an interesting weekend for everybody, and I mean,
yeah.
I haven't really watched anything to do with The Honest Truth for a while until probably about 10 days ago. I've now just had to file a defamation against Bobby's channel because essentially, he had Paddy Conroy on that channel 10 days ago or so on a live.
Bobby, yeah. Which Bobby? Uncle Bobby.
From the Honest Truth.
I told you.
And Paddy was on there, and I rang up Bobby and asked him if he would remove the said comment, which was on there, which named me directly. He assured me he would. He said he would put it behind a privacy screen. And then, surprise, surprise, it's back up there again. So you can't see I didn't warn him. I did ask him if I could do that. And from my perspective, I'm not too happy with Bobby on that score.
I've never been happy with Bobby. For
Karma Corner, I've just seen that point. Yeah, I'll be happy to address it with Steve and Steve's channel. Look,
yeah, I've got get stuffed. You can go and get stuffed, coward.
I've got a decent relationship, as you know, with most people on YouTube, with the exception of Paddy, the man in the shed, and obviously he's got his associates and his friends, and that's great. Let him get on with it. I tried. Albeit in a joke, and we had to jump on and address the situation on his live. Obviously, I took advantage of his naivety on how to use StreamYard, not Yardstream, as he keeps referring to it as. But I like to address things face to face. I prefer to meet people face to face. I prefer to see people face to face. But unfortunately, and I caught what you were saying at the start there, until you meet somebody face to face, you don't know them and you can't trust them. And that is unfortunately the world we've been dragged into. So your current situation, which I've listened to intently there, and I did manage to catch a little bit of what you were discussing early on. I listened to Karma's piece this morning as well. And you know, to be fair, I get on with you. I've never spoken to Karma. I've obviously left messages on his channel. I thought his piece on my sabotage of Conroy's live was funny, and as usual, comic value was great. He doesn't take sides. Certainly hasn't taken sides with me on stuff that I've done, which is fair enough. But yeah, look, I can see why you're annoyed. I can see why you're angry, and anything that starts going down that avenue of hate speech shouldn't be allowed on here. I mean, let's look at Conroy's outburst at Atwood months ago now, when all of this rubbish started between him and I and Atwood, and you know, that piece is still on his channel, where, you know, Atwood subscribes to him and he starts basically threatening him down the camera. That kind of stuff is overstepping the mark. It's going over the line, like you said, Anne, and well, you know, that is when things need to be addressed, and it's happening a lot at the moment, isn't it?
But in fairness to Paddy, and I've got to say this in fairness to Paddy, right? Sean Atwood, who you mentioned, Sean Atwood, don't forget, is very good friends with, on off with Darren G, who's been very threatening and all this. So he can't go complaining about that when he's siding with you can complain about it, but Sean Atwood's got a cheek, because he doesn't mind it when he takes her on the chin when Thingo's doing it. But I find with me, you say, I don't know the ins and outs of it, Steve. I've never really looked. But one thing I just look at Paddy Conroy is that I don't understand I've seen bits of the issue, and I know that there's an issue between the two of you, but I find him sometimes funny to watch. I know he can come out with stuff, but you know, when someone comes out with Carl McCorner can do it. He can say some offensive things, but you laugh at it for some reason. You don't find it. But again, I'm not sitting in your chair. I haven't been directly affected by it, so it'll be different for me. But I don't really know the full story about what's happened.
Yeah, I mean, it is just bizarre and strange. I mean, his real issue should be with Stephen Sayers, you know, but he's clearly concerned and worried about ever having any confrontation with Stephen. So he chooses to push all of his, poison against me. And that's just the way it is. He believes I was behind a smear campaign, which I've proved time and time again that I wasn't. I've just basically become his target, you know, and he's trying to influence other people to do exactly the same. And that is just the way he is operating. That is what he's decided to do, and there's nothing I can do about it. But I don't lose sleep over it. I don't sit and concern myself about it. In fact, if I can do something about it, then I will. But at this moment in time, I can't. But I thought it would have been nice for him to get me on his channel the other night. He had the opportunity to basically quiz me, to question me, but no, he cut me off. In fact, you know, I tried to get on again. Yeah, fair enough. I went under a pseudonym, and everybody laughed at that. I went on under his Karma Corner. I used the opportunity to go on because it was his first time. And, you know, I would say, you know, that I would be more than willing to go back onto his channel. You know, again, I'm up for a cross-reference and cross-section. I was going to do KRN, to be honest, until I watched their first interview in part 1 and part 2 with him. And I just thought, well, this is not going to be a fair channel to use. And ultimately as well, when I did send them all the evidence, Christian from KRN didn't have the decency to reply to me. And you know, from my perspective, you know, that was it. I can see Tony Burke, and that is him, saying in the chat, saying, you asked all other podcasters to report him. Yeah, I asked 6 people, Tony, to report him, and I'll tell you why. Because what Anne said at the start of the program about when you haven't met people, you can't trust them. So I decided to put out a little test to 6 people out there, none of them who I trusted. And of those 6 people, I narrowed it down to 2 who couldn't be trusted. And those 2 people were the ones who obviously reported back that we were doing that. So yeah, from my perspective, it's all about playing the game, Tony, as I'm sure you know only too well. So now that person is blocked from my account. and so is the other person. And you've got to do that. Unfortunately, this is the way that you work in this environment on YouTube. You have to essentially play the game, and I'm sure you will do the same, or you've done the same as well. And you've got to test people out sometimes. You maybe give them a little bit of, you maybe give somebody a little bit of information, a little tidbit of information, and then ultimately you let down, or those people are showed up. I think you follow me on Facebook, and I put a post up to go with that particular inbox where I said, about distrusting people on Facebook. I put it up at the weekend. That was all part of that, just to see whether the person got rattled and came back. And you've got to test people. Humble Dry is agreeing with us there, and I know I've spoken to John many times. Never met him. Never actually physically met either of those people. Spoken.
I know you won't meet them because they're too little fucking. Excuse my friend. No, I don't swear. This is how upset I am over what Carl McCorner did. And Carrie, I'm not bothered whether you're the team. I'm not saying to people, you shouldn't mix with. I'm not saying that. Carl McCorner has made it clear that he regrets what he said. But no, let me just explain why it gets to me this, because this has a historical input, this to me. I've discussed before in the past how I remember when I believe Nick and all this business, the Carl Beach fiasco was kicking off before anyone knew who Carl Beach was. And I, by pure accident, and I don't know whether it's Providence or not, seen a tweet and I thought, wait a minute, Nick is this fella we didn't know his name at the time, who's being taken, who's making all these allegations against VIPs and all this business. Now, I'd always said the way the community of CSA survivors and campaigners against CSA was carrying on then, they were all grouping together and they were forming clans. And anyone say anything or doubt or say anything against one of these members, they'd all gang up. And I said at the time, this is the ideal breeding environment for a map to come in and be shielded and protected by you all. Because they know when someone comes with them, you're going to attack them. That's exactly what happened with Carl Beach. He was in with them. He was being shielded. No one could question this Nick fella. No one dared do it. Then exactly what I said happened. Boom. They found out that they had a paedophile in with them. Jimmy Savile was in with children's charities and all this. So all that I see, again, is Carl McCorner in The Honest Truth. Now, I'm not saying... Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying anyone's a map there. I'm not saying that, right? I'm just using this as an example, what got me wound up. And suddenly it's like, I don't have a voice. I'm going to be condemned straight away. Why? Because Carl McCorner wants to be friends with Uncle Bobby and is scared of losing his friendship. And this is what happens. These people, I don't care what you say, the humble dryers have got all sorts of questions surrounding them. They're not, I'd like them to name one person, child they saved, where I can see they've done more damage. The shady, they won't release that tape because I'm saying the reason they won't release that tape is because Darren G was telling the truth. They were trying to get him to lie, which would have ended up bad for him. So this is all coming in. Look, people, if you're in the business of campaigning for children safety or adult safety, whatever, you can't afford to have friends.
This whole situation and really is spiraling out of control again. It went through it plateaued a little bit, and then now it's back to being a trial by YouTube. And again, I'm not going to mention that person's name. If it gets brought up, it gets brought up on podcast. But I'd rather not mention his name. And this particular person is continuing to make content. So therefore, the fact that this person has come back and is fighting and is on the offensive and, living his great life and back in training and doing all of this kind of stuff, it's winding the whole YouTube community up. And some people are directly involved. Some people are partially involved, dip their toe in the water and then come back out. Other people aren't involved at all. And I find that sometimes the irrationality that is shown on some of the channels by some of the presenters and by some of the podcasters is simply that. It's irrationality because they are coming from dealing with that particular incident and coming into something else, and then it's where your mindset's at. And sometimes you are treating things which are nothing to do with that particular incident. You're treating those things in the same way. And I think sometimes people need to switch the computer off, go and walk the dog, go and have a walk somewhere, and then come back and address other situations. You know what I mean?
That's right. You just need to settle down. But I'm just I'm gutted because I really liked, and I hope, and I can't believe I'm saying this, and people who know me can't believe it. I hope at some time I can resolve it with Karma Corner, because
Karma seems to be the kind of person who will always be willing to sit and listen. And I've got very little interaction with Karma Corner at all. And as I say, mine is as a viewer, if nothing else. And I've got to be honest, I do enjoy it. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure. I'll stick it on every now and then. There's something on which I'm enjoying. I've got to be honest, most of the stuff with the guy who's the one who focuses most on people's content at this moment in time. I tend to flick through them and move on. But if it's something else, there's always something a little bit different. I mean, he's done something this morning about this new guy, and it's funny. It's just the way that he covers it. And as you say, he goes, a bit crude for you, but I've actually had some laugh out loud moments at some of his content, And as I do with Video Craig's, I mean, some of the stuff he puts out and the way he does it is different to Karma's. And he does some serious interviews tied in with a bit of comedy. Do you know what I mean? And it's all about opinions. If you don't like what you're seeing on some of these channels, you know what to do. Don't watch them. Move on. And that's it. It's as simple as that, really.
Yeah. So here's the man himself, Video Craig. So what's your input, Video Craig?
Okay, so I woke up this morning. I started watching some of this Karma Corner Honest Truth podcast. I think I got about 25 minutes into it before I turned it off. Before I saw that you were upset with him, I noticed that people like Tony Burkett and other people like that were giving the guy who hosts Honest Truth, I can't remember his name, were giving him shit.
Uncle Bobby!
Because he wasn't sticking up for Karma Corner and stuff like that. And
no, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It wasn't that. He was being his usual little tosspot self. That's what he was doing. A little big tosspot self.
It's not a channel I often watch, to be honest with you. I forgot it was still there, in all honesty. That's no disrespect to Honest Truth or anything. It's just not my cup of tea. But I didn't get to a point where Karma was saying anything that could be classed as a hate speech towards you. But again, I didn't watch the whole thing.
Just let me put
what was actually said?
Whatever it is. That's what he said.
Okay.
So that is, especially towards someone that's in sex. In the past, I would have been in a freak show, a sideshow to be looked at. So it was see, I'm not transgender, which people think, and that's what got me. I thought, no, you don't do that, because this is what you've got to understand as well, why I'm so passionate about this. There's babies being born now who are in the same situation I was, and for 50 years it was a secret with me because I was told to keep it a secret, and now I understand why I was told to keep it a secret. And I don't see why children who are coming into this world now are facing the bigotry that they are. It's horrendous. You hate it. I don't mind someone hating me because they don't like my personality, but what they do is they hate me for existing. That's what it is. They hate me for existing. And that's why I draw the line with it. But
so to play devil's advocate here, do you think that Karma Corner's intention was that of a bigot and hatred, or did he not just know the correct way to address
I think his emotions got over him. He was wrapped up in the time. He was scared.
He was at the point I turned off. He was getting very heated in an argument with the other guy.
I think what it was, he was trying to keep it. I don't know why he wants to keep in with Uncle Bobby. I really don't. And people have this idea, Uncle Bobby, friendly. I tell you now, I'll have to do a special one where to put in all the bullying. This is Uncle Bobby from What Is Truth, who was kicked off YouTube for horrific hate speech, and now is running what can only be seen as a neo-Nazi channel on Odyssey. So, you know, when he's going on about compassion, I'd like to know the compassion that when my dog passed away the day after on their channel, and the day after that, and the one they put on after that, they were jeering the death of my dog, and he was sitting there calling me, what was he calling me? The toothless one, come on, the toothless one. And calling Wheezy the ruthless one. He's calling me toothless. I've got one tooth missing there, one missing at the back. He's got 4 teeth in his head by the looks of it. And so, you know, he wonders why, but he's trying to pull off this, he's a nice man, lovely Uncle Bobby. He wasn't to me. And I'm sorry to sound so wound up for it, but I've held this in for a long, long time, and it's coming out now. Yeah. I am annoyed by it. I'm letting people see it for the first time.
So did you see that Comic-Con has been in touch today with you?
Yeah, he sent me an email. And, you know, like saying
what was the tone of that?
Well, it was just he regrets. You could tell he regretted what he did. But I'm just so fumed. And the other thing is, right, this hasn't been resolved because I tried to warn people. Oh, Video Craig's gone blank. I tried to warn people and say, you know, look, you have to question people. I know this person. I know the criminologist. I've had personal experience of him. Other people have had experience of him. He gets in with people, and I could see him doing it there. The minute he saw he had Karma Corner changing, or he had Karma Corner in his grasps, suddenly it's like, oh, no, this, no, that. That's what he does. That's why I'm wetting myself and concerned when he's turning around and saying that he's suddenly born again Christian, and he's talking about these little old dears that are helping him. And, you know, it's like, no, wait a minute. Why won't he show his acro? I'm telling you now, it will be in Karma Corner's own interest and Bobby. And why is Bobby wanting to deflect from the acro? Remember, another thing that happened with nice Uncle Bobby was Chris Hartley. I just said off the top of my head when everyone was going, acro, acro, acro. I said, ask Chris Hartley to put on his acro.
Can you remember who started this thing about acros?
It was, I don't know.
Ronan?
No.
No, it wasn't Ronan. That's what I said. Ronan's taken the credit for this. It wasn't Ronan. It was someone else said about the acro.
Tony Burke.
It was Baker. It was Tony Baker. I was just going to say that.
Tony Baker was the one.
Baker was the one, not Ronan.
He's in the chat now. Now he's now backtracked on the whole acro situation, and he's allowing Ronan to take the stick on YouTube for that. And that really tells me a lot about Tony's character, because you own it. You accept what you've put yourself forward for. If you said something, then accept it. You know, you were quite willing to take the glory for putting the acro forward, but now it's all Ronan because the acro is not the proper thing anymore. We seem to have moved on that score. You know, I find it's all a little bit concerning when, you know, the people who are carrying out a trial by YouTube, you know, haven't got squeaky clean pasts. And that really concerns me massively. I think personally now there is enough evidence out there because that particular person has, you know, there are leaked tapes with his voice on speaking to his mum about that particular situation and offences which are all NFAs on that particular, you know, subject. And that now should be all handed over to the police. And I'm sure I watched a podcast only last week where I heard people saying, we're all going to come together now. It's all going to be passed on to the authorities and let them do the work. But I don't understand why we are still in this position where video content is being made. People are pushing out the same narrative. People are adding to it now. I personally feel that if there is ever any chance of justice for any particular victims that may be out there, then listen, Anne, you worked as a police officer. You know the situation. I think we're getting further and further away from there ever being any justice done. And I've seen things being ramped up and ramped up and ramped up. I think the fight, which is organised, is a completely separate entity. I think that is something completely different to the whole YouTube trial that we've seen going on. But I personally feel that we are getting further and further away from this. I think what's actually happening is, in fact, it's there because you just need to check the YouTube analytics. That channel's building again, and it's awful. I've got to be honest. I feel, as I watch this develop now, I feel really uncomfortable, and Humble will probably agree with what I'm saying. I mean, Humble stepped right back from it all. We've never heard a thing from either of them. They stepped right back. We saw videos where they said they were stepping back. And I think I just think there is going to be some kind of conclusion. And I don't know what it is, but I've had a horrible feeling about it. And that's why I have generally gone quiet. And only because I was mentioned on 2 occasions by name on these videos. If I come out and I put my little statement out there the other day, tonight I was going to do a live with Dean Lynch because I promised him that a week before the show, I would do another podcast with him to talk about 3D Fight Club. Obviously, because he's got this forthcoming fight now, that was going to take part in that discussion tonight. We've now put that off to tomorrow night. I was coming on here and I had to fulfill another appointment. But from my perspective, I've just got a really uneasy feeling about this whole thing. And I think I don't know. I just think that's why I kept out of it and said nothing for a few months. I've got to be honest. Once I interviewed Dean about 3D Fight Club and talk a little bit about his fight, I'll be moving away back from it again because it's got a horrible feeling about it. I'm sitting watching some strange characters yesterday sitting in a shed with Paul Ellis. It has to be said. Paul Ellis seemed to be a good lad. I've done his podcast. He's been on mine. We've had a bit of a relationship. I'm just thinking, wow, where is this going now? Why are we making a documentary? Why are we making more content which is going to promote this person? And why we're making more content which possibly could jeopardize any chance of justice for the victims? It's sickening me, exactly. And it's starting to annoy me in that sense. And I just think, whatever happens, whether it's justice for the victims, or whether, as he's already mentioned today on his latest video, which I watched, that he's going to do what I think he's going to do, which he's going to go to the police, and he's got an absolute multitude. Case, yeah. He's got an absolute. Solid. Well, he has. He's got. Not only can he do people now, he could probably take in the call for defamation of character, etc. But he could also get them all arrested for cyberbullying and harassment. Yeah. And
This is what I was saying. What was I saying the other day? I don't know if you caught me saying this, Steve. I was saying, with them all going down to doing this, and I don't know what's going on with Paul Ellis and all this business and Tony Burgess. You've got to be careful, especially you, Tony. And I know, Tony, I've said I've got sympathy with you, Tony. I've got sympathy with you.
He's saying I was calling him a woman beater. I didn't call him a woman beater.
I don't know, but let's just say this right. I've seen, looking back on what Tony sent me, and I had to be careful at that time because it wasn't at the stage it's now. I can see where he has got genuine ground. But Tony, what you've got to do is say to yourself, who's going to win if you're arrested, you or Decker? Who's going to win? That's what you've got to get in your mind. You've got to be sensible about this. And I'm telling you now, Decker could have had quite a lot of people lifted by now if he wanted to. He could have
He has had a few people lifted though, hasn't he, over the years?
Yeah.
So,
but look, if Paddy Conroy can ring the police and get Stephen Sayers arrested for cyberbullying and harassment and malicious communications, then so can Decker.
Yeah.
It just saying this one, right? Heather, I literally called into Ronan Show and emailed after, no response. The thing with Ronan is, and this is where his downfall, as always, I said is coming. You warn Ronan about something and he doesn't listen. He refuses to listen. I've seen, oh God, and you can just, all that I'm going to say, the person he's sort of like saying is a great person at the moment who goes around calling everyone predators and all this business. And he's obviously got some kind of dementia as far as I'm concerned, starting. Let him go for it, Heather. All that it ends up is you'll see Ronan in a while go, oh, I didn't know, I'm sorry. It always becomes he's apologizing for himself. He's apologizing for his own stupidity at the end of the day. But he doesn't listen. He doesn't care. So let him get on with it. He'll walk right into it. He's very green with it. Just thought I'd mention that one.
Could there be a fair trial with all of this stuff that's on YouTube? I don't
That's
know.
what I'm saying. It could stop the trial happening. It could stop it completely because there's been to and fro going on. And I said this from day one. When there was rumours coming out or things coming out, allegations coming out that Geraldine had been paid to make that. What was the famous thing I said? You've destroyed the chances. And I know, Tony, you get upset by this if people mention GoFundMe. I'm not criticising you. What I'm saying is, all that I'm saying here is that when it was raising money for the victims of the alleged, we have to say, victims of Decahegi, that will also go against you. You have to be careful because the first thing the defence is going to turn around and say, if Decker was in the dock, is money past hands.
I mean, Tony said, Tony, I'm not meeting you on Friday. I've got no interest in meeting you, mate. He says he's talking to my kids. It doesn't matter what happens later on as well. I mean, look, if that's the case, then that's not great. And I understand why you've got this potential motive, Tony. You know, look, we disagree on the whole Conroy situation. We don't disagree on the Decker situation whatsoever. You know, there is some middle ground there. You know, but ultimately for me, you know, I just feel that, you know, continuing to put it out there in the public domain as it's happening, I just think it's not going to. But that's my opinion. I could be completely wrong. What you're doing could be the right thing, and things may all turn out great. But let's, you know, why a lot to say? So, yeah, but I've got a lot to say. I've got an opinion. Everybody's got an opinion. It's YouTube. We can all have an opinion about stuff. You know, don't forget, Conroy cozied up to Decahegi, had him in his shed, had him, you know, having this big interview and all that. And he only fell out with him because he allowed me to see the video. You know what I mean? Obviously, then he finds out what he is. He changed his mind. He then spent 6 weeks having a pop at me, saying that I was befriending him and I was his pal and all that. When in fact, I was forced into actually speaking to the guy because he'd had him on his podcast and he'd befriended him and he got him in and he got him into this whole situation. You go back through it, honestly, it's a farce. Like I wish I'd never crossed paths with him. The only reason that I knew Decahegi was because he actually boxed on one of my shows and obviously got flattened by Gary Thurby, you know. But yeah, look, I've got an opinion. People don't like it. That's the way it is.
Well,
I can't change it. But I'm going to stand by me guns, and you know, thanks for allowing us to have that little rant about it, because ultimately, you know, from my perspective, that's how I feel.
You know how? I'm sorry.
Go on, Craig.
You know how we were just saying there about the could there be a fair trial now?
Yeah.
Unless there's new victims with new evidence, there isn't going to be a trial in that sense, is there?
Well, this is what I'm saying. I think Carrie said one thing here. No one has to be careful. People have been careful for too long. Pressure on. You have to be careful, Carrie. Very, very careful. Because what you're doing is you can destroy. Believe me, if you understand, if anyone's... Look, Tony's been through the court system, haven't you, Tony? You'll know this when I say this. Anything the prosecution can pick up against you to throw at you, they will do. And it's their job to get you there. And if it's on the other side, the defense, they'll pick up anything as well. It's a game. The British legal system, like the American legal system, is very much a game of words. It's an oratory system. We got it from the Romans and the Greeks. It's oratory. It's who comes out with the best speech at the end of the day wins. And of course, you need evidence as well. But if someone can be found to have a mistrial, or in other words, they were, well, let's say what I was saying about this allegation that there's evidence being paid for or offered to cook up evidence, that's going to cause a mistrial, because you can't say then, well, this person has had fake evidence put in against them. And that's why I'm saying you can get innocent people not having justice at all. And so you've got to be very careful, Carrie. You've got to work with the system you have. And it's not, and I always say, right, there's not always a solution for every wrong that happens. My God, I know that. I know there's not every legal solution for a wrong that goes wrong. You just have to accept that sometimes life can be horrendous. And I
it
think
can be, and I mean, there's a war
yeah.
going on in the Ukraine, and there's a lot more serious stuff going on at this moment in time than what's going on YouTube. I've had to deal with illness in my family for the last 3 weeks, which has been a horrendous ride for me. I've still continued to put out YouTube content. It's been a little bit of a salvation to actually come out and do me Newcastle United stuff, etc., and do the odd interview with different people. And I've just tried to remain positive throughout the whole process. But then you have this whole situation developing with Ukraine, and I've got kids, and my kids asking questions. One of me kids said, why did I have to be born during a time when there was COVID and now a war? And it's terrifying because there's that many avenues for kids to see these things, and for me, honestly, there's more to life than YouTube. There's more to life than YouTube battles with these people, and it's good to have a healthy debate, and like I say, like with Tony in the chat there, as I say, we completely disagree on the whole Conroy situation. I've seen the videos that put out over the last recent weeks, but at the same time, that doesn't mean I disagree with him on what the other stuff that he's doing. But my opinion is that the way that things should happen now is actually all we're doing is building this guy up again, and he's come back out with a new idea and a new policy, which is I'm back and I'm staying here and I'm going to do this and this, and it's just I honestly I just go, oh God, nobody can control it. Nobody can control it because everybody's different. Everyone's got a different opinion. And I just don't know where it ends. I'm just concerned about where it's going to end. I really am. And that's my character,
Well, that's it. And everyone, as you say, is everyone can talk about it. And Emma, I'd just like to say to Emma, thank you, Emma, very much. And it was very touching. I'm going to get all emotional now. You stuck up for me the other night. Thank you. And I want to thank you because that meant a lot to me. You stuck up for me. Thank you. I'm just saying that. But it's just I don't know where the hell it's going with Dekahegi. And also, right, he's showing this. Oh, let me point something out because people were saying, right, and this is an interesting point. About acros, the police and people who work with the police, whatever, know what acros look like. When you work with the police, you never have to see an acro in your life. The reason is you just go on to the PNC or niche and you see it. So when people say to me, is this a genuine acro? I couldn't tell you. I've never seen one.
I applied for one, Anne, and I only applied for one because Video Craig said this is how you apply for one. So I applied for one. I've got no criminal conviction, so I knew mine would come back clear. And mine came the way I applied for it. I applied the email way. It got emailed to me within. You can apply for it to be posted out or emailed, and it came back within 2 to 3 days, and it was clear. Didn't have a photograph on. I don't know whether that's because I haven't been arrested and there's no photograph of me on public records. I've got no idea. But then I shared it. I sent it to Humble and said, there is my acro. Do with it what you want. He then sent me his, for whatever reason, and I passed that on to Sean Atwood at his request. And, I just, since then, I've never been asked for my acro then. But, all of this, get your DBS out, get your acro out, etc. I really just find it all of that bizarre.
Well, what I said, I don't know why people don't just go for SRA, SAR. I have to be careful because one's satanic, isn't it? SAR, subject access request, because that tells you a hell of a lot. Yeah. And do you want me to tell you something humble? Do you want me to tell you something humble? Right? Do you know what mine's got on mine? Can be violent if provoked or feels threatened. I just thought it is. It's on.
Careful, man. I can see Cormac Corner using that now.
I want to see Cormac Corner's dog's acro. That's what I want to see.
But this is it, right? I looked at it and I thought, can be violent. I thought, what do you mean by that? So I said, what's it? I said, it's not on mine. I said, can be violent. They said, well, throwing a pitcher of water over the false solicitor is considered, and I said, oh, that's what it is, because I threw a pitcher of water over a false solicitor when they were getting on my nerves. I just thought, go to hell with this, because I didn't want to work there anymore. But that means I'm a very violent person. Mm-hmm. And what else did it say on it? Oh God, it said something else which was funny, and I thought, my God, that's tickled me. I forget what it said.
I find that one
Pos-
interesting. And do the right thing. Have you seen that comment in the chat there? The lynch mob comment.
The lynch mob have no other content, so can only rattle on about Mr. Heggie. Also, the said people are getting angry and fabricating things now because they ain't getting results. Fact. Well, the thing is this referring like to the
today's story, which was
What's
that he's
that?
been having sexual relations with men.
So what if he has? So what?
In an Aldi courier bag.
So what? So what if he has?
Don't get me wrong. I've read this email. It's definitely not true, but it did make me laugh. The story did make me laugh. It's so far-fetched. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I know, yeah. Well, this is it. I mean, so what? This is where the, you know, but he's done himself. He was saying that Karma Corner was going with Lady Boys, wasn't he? So, you know, it's stupid. And when they start doing this, if they have to make up lies about you, like what was the one I heard the other day being said? That I had posts taken down off the internet that used to be up there years ago, or reports about me. No, I never have. I've never had anything down. The person who did get an Observer article, the criminologist, this is nothing I'll point out, that if Karma Corner hears this, right, where if he'd been listening, he would have seen that he was being lied to again. The criminologist turned around and said, right, that he got this, he was bragging, I got it taken down, this thing about me in the Observer where it was saying that he did something or was involved in something when he was a kid, very, very serious. And I got it taken down because no, it was libel or whatever or not. And it took me 10 years. Then Karma Corner was talking. Karma Corner, I think, turned around to him and said, well, did you sue for libel? And the little grin, watch the little grin on the criminal's face. Oh, I'd forgotten about it. I didn't realise until 10 years later that it had been up there. And I thought, wait a minute, you just said you've been fighting for 10 years. Do you see how he twists the truth? And if you listen to him, that you get it. And that's my having to take statements and interview people day in, day out, me working the police. That's what it trained me. I'll hear that. I'll say, wait a minute. You're saying when you're asked why didn't you sue for libel that you'd forgotten about it. How could he forget about that? How would anyone forget about that? He never shuts up about it. And then to turn around and say earlier, oh, well, wait a minute. I was fighting it for 10 years. Lies, 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 lies. And once someone starts lying, you can't trust it, and they turn around and say,
who is this criminologist guy? Because I only heard of him for the first time this morning.
What it is, I'll give a quick overview because I said before, I've got stuff on my line. He is well known in certain arenas and campaigners against child sex abuse, whatever, and that, and he's not liked at all. Now, what he'll have you believe is that he's campaigned for years. No, what he's done is he was never abused in a sexual way, but he makes out that he's always going for compensation. Well, to cut a long story short, he got involved in this, or there was allegations involved in some very serious things, and involving, I won't go into it, but it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant at all. Anyway, Sonia Polton did, and I can talk about this, so you can't, did a show called Pedophiles in Power, I think it was called. Something like that, Pedophiles in Power, about the VIPs. And criminologists has been mentioned in those arenas and stuff like that. And in regard to Hemming, the Minister Hemming, which I won't say because you have to be very, very careful what you say. And he got wrapped up in all that. So he tried to sue Sonia Polton for defamation because Sonia Polton was on Sean Atwood's show being interviewed, and Sean Atwood asked her a question about the whole scenario surrounding Hemming and all that, and what was her name? Esther Baker, and asking all this business. And Sonia gave her opinion. Well, suddenly it resulted in a libel case.
Right.
And where he turns around, the criminologist says, he's a poor man who managed to get to the High Court. No, he didn't. He piggybanked on Hemmings and others and got there because he was working with them in conjunction with them. With the judge said that's what they were doing. He said they were working together against Sonia. So, and I say I've seen some of the stuff that was going backwards and forwards that didn't come out in the court case, and it wasn't very pleasant at all. So anyway, that happened. He wasn't successful. He wanted $500,000. He wasn't successful, but he did. It's in the court papers. Go to my community page. You'll see it. Go to Sonia's page. Look, if Sonia's lying, right, the first thing he'd do, the criminologist, is sue her for libel. That's the first thing he'd do. Well, she says on her funding page, she's got the court papers now, and she points out what was said. And she did. He was ordered to pay $6,000 in costs. And now he's still got the broad face to deny that. But he's a person, and this is what I don't like about him, because he did it to me. He tries to get in with you. He's slimy. He slithers in there. But he's well known. He'll tell you himself he's been a criminal for a hell of a long time, right? And the police know all about him. But also, he complained about this blog that's out there about him. And I say, just let me stress, he says that I'm trolling him. Excuse me, he's got a blog up about me, calling me for everything. I haven't got any blog up about him. So go figure who's the one that's doing the trolling. And he's also been accused on multiple occasions of stalking women and stalking other people and cyberbullying them in that way, you know.
Right.
He's been accused of it anyway. Let's say, put it that way. So anyway, that all happened. But there's this blog out there. And he went to the police, I want this blog taken down, it's libelous and all this, and I want this person arrested and all this business. They told him to go and do one. They refused to even go out and talk to the person. You make your mind up why they do that. And you make the mind up why he says that the police would lift him given any chance. Why they would want to lift him given any chance. So he's got a history there. As I say, for some reason, Carl McCorner backed away from asking for his acro. And I know you're going on about acros, Steve, and all this. What's the point in them? But I'm telling you now, sometimes you think, just let's check it. Just let's check it to make sure. And he's one, isn't he? And suddenly he turns on Decker Heggie. Right. He was always supporting Decker Heggie. You know, it's just... But this idea that I was trolling him, I thought it was rubbish. But that's what it is. He's very... If you put his real name in, which you'll find his real name, you'll find stuff out there on him. So he's very infamous, very, very infamous, but he likes to big himself up and claim this and put lies out. He's got on his channel about me. He's got clips from it. Look, let me tell you this about this sexual assault and this dirty protest and all that. If you want to know what happened and the truth behind it, please just watch the interview I did with Sean Atwood. And why the hell would I come out with it if I wanted to keep it hidden? But what he's done is he's craftily, Craig, edited it so it looks like... He said the other day, he said on The Honest Truth, my ass, he turned around and said, right, you're going, mate. Where is he? Bye-bye. I mean, it's most probably true what he's saying. You would bum me if you got the chance, wouldn't you, Craig? But he's gone anyway. He's gone. I'm not.
You get some great people on these chats, but then you always get the odd one that lets the chat down. Can I just address this before it disappears in ethos? Stephen Anderson asks that many questions. I mean, Stephen, I've seen your messages on a lot of these podcasts, and you know, sometimes having a pop, whatever. But this seems to be a fairly sensible one. He went, "It's madness, all this. You are pals with Sean, but jump on here, Stephen." Okay, Sean Atwood and I know each other because I have been a podcast guest on Sean's show, not once, but twice, because I had a story to tell and I went on and told it. After I'd appeared on his podcasts, Sean Atwood contacted me and said, would you like to do some audiobooks through my company? And I said, yes. Which books would you like to do? and what would the offer be? He then offered me the opportunity to have 5 books put through his company as audio books, and that is the situation. Since then, we have had a couple of appearances on podcasts together, which have been well publicized, some on my channel and some on his, and that's it. Is he on my top list of friends? Did I invite him to my 50th birthday party? No. So, first of all, that's Sean cleared up. Then you went pals with Boyle. Jamie and I have got what you would call a tempestuous relationship. We've been known to each other for many years. He approached me to do a book called Every Boy's Dream, which he did, and it's out there, and it still sells today. And we fell out on more than one occasion. We've made up on more than one occasion. Again, not somebody who came to my 50th birthday, not a friend, not somebody who I would say is somebody who is close to me, who I would pick up the phone if I was going through a crisis. So you then say, but you used to call Emma and Brian pals. Brian and Emma were obviously using Jamie's company, Warcry Publishing, and they were working with him. For whatever reason, that relationship ended. And from my position, I was then asked by Brian and Emma to help them produce a book with my company, Bad Boys Books. I produced that book. Didn't go down too well with Jamie, but that's what I did. Did I ever manage Brian and Emma? No. We put a show on together in Newcastle with Stephen Sayers, which was a big success during COVID. 80 people could go. We sold all 80 tickets. We then did a video of that, which is out and sells on Amazon to this day, which catalogs that particular night. And then we moved on. I didn't manage Brian. There was never a contract signed. And I remain friends with Emma and Brian because we've got a working relationship, because the second print of that particular book has come out. But they are very much their own people. They book their own diary and do their own things. And that is why I've got a relationship with them. As for Craig, got to know Craig. Unbeknown to me, Craig and I have known each other a lot longer than I had remembered. But Craig reappeared on the scene on YouTube during lockdown. And he also turned up at an event with a good pal of mine, Jacob. And it was a boxing event. I put on a lot of events in the Northeast. We had a bit chat. We had a bit banter. And I've got to be honest, when I saw the stuff that was being hurled at Craig, I told him, and he'll back me up on this, I didn't even know about that. I hadn't even registered with that. Believe it or not, Video Craig and I haven't been going out and socialising and whooping it up for years. Our paths crossed 100%. I did the doors in Newcastle for 18 years. But I think Craig's got a past, the same as Tony Burkett's got a past, the same as Paddy Conroy's got a past, the same as a lot of people on YouTube have got a past. And I think that's where you've let yourself down with that particular comment, Stephen, because you bring that up and put that down in a particular way, which makes Craig look like the Yorkshire Ripper. And that's not what he is. The guy's a genuine guy who made a mistake and deserves to be allowed to move on from that. And you're the same person, Stephen, who is backing some of these other people with more dubious things in their past than Video Craig will ever have. And as a comedian, I that isn't my sense of humor. I'm not really one who goes to comedy. He's apologized for that. He's apologized for it. But look at the audience who are watching that particular video, which has been circulated many times. They're all laughing at it. Doesn't make it right, but I just think that, if you're gonna throw a muck at somebody, then make sure you're not backing up somebody who's worse than that particular person.
Exactly. This is what happens, and this is what happens on YouTube and social media. This is what I was just saying about little clans forming, and they'll slag out. They all. Remember the fishbowl I was talking about? Everyone's going around the fishbowl in the little clan, and they're not watching what's going on outside. I say the honest truth is this little clan going on. You get other little clans forming elsewhere. And as I say, it's the ideal situation for someone that is dubious and very bad to worm their way into, and then they'll be protected if anyone goes for them. because like, oh, you're my friend. Look, get real. There's something missing in your life. If when you're online, you think that when someone says that's my best friend and you've never met them, there's something wrong. There's something seriously going wrong. You need to get out more and get people they can actually touch and feel and feel the breath on your face as they're talking to you. That's a friend. You can have friends on YouTube, but saying that you trust someone that you hardly know, you don't know anything about. And as you say, which is vital, Steve, people will call out, let's say Craig, about certain things, and then go supporting someone that's, you know, they've done something horrendous and worse and gone out there and done it. And it's like, well, why suddenly attack him for that? And as you say, I've said this before, it's all the... Here we are. I'll answer this one in a minute. Oh, God, it's gone. I'll just get this, Craig, then it's
Freemasonry.
The idea, you have to grow up. This is, Steve, you've been in the entertainment industry. I've been in the entertainment industry. We see it from a different perspective. We see how things go on there. We see how people are can slip up. And that's what Craig did. You slipped up. You made a bad error of judgment. People have been there. People have done that. You just have to let them move on. That's what you have to do. No one's, I've said it before, no one's died. But this one, and are you part of the Freemason funny handshakes? I tell you what, Mr. Invisible, aka J Wells, put 50 quid on that question and I'll answer it. Go on, put 50 quid on and I'll answer it. I've got it sorted now. Right? If they want to ask me questions that are, like that, Steve, they're going to pay me. So 50 quid and I'll answer it. Come on, Humbles. You're loaded. You've got your 50 grand in your drawer. Come on, put 50 quid on to ask me that question and I'll answer it truthfully. See, I'm going to save up for when I retire, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Here we go. Yeah, £50 super chat. £50 super chat, and I'll answer that question. Bargain. My God, I should be standing outside the store, shouldn't I? So I'm not asking you to answer the question. I'm asking you to pay me so I answer it. So there we go. So yeah, I got this sorted. So yeah, so what? Do you know? I'm not going to ask you, Craig, right? Because the thing is, we have to get away from this, and you're going to get on the rabbit on the. What did I say? The hamster wheel where you're always talking about it. Forget it. Move on. Tell us a joke. Go on. Come on, tell us a joke.
I don't know any jokes that won't get me cancelled on here.
No. Oh, don't then. Let's see. Here we go. Kinsley, right.
Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah, very true. See, I've seen it all. I've gone through I'm older than any. I know that's hard to believe, but I'm older than any of you here, and I've known. Oh God, Gary Garth W. That's a question and a half. Is he? Well, he keeps on calling everyone that disagrees with him a predator. Then he's suddenly the next day. Oh, I know we've had a misunderstanding. Can you help me? And it's like, are you for real? You just have to let him get on with it. I think there's something. I'm not going to go on about him because I think there's something form of dementia going on there or the onset of it. So I've lost my train of thoughts. Anyone want to mention anything else?
Yeah, I mean, do the right thing, saying, I wish you would do a documentary on the victims of Medhamsley, appalling treatment some of us endured. Yeah, look, it's something which I would, I would happily do. I've got a couple of other things which I'm working on at the minute, but yeah, I mean that would be an interesting documentary. I've also had a chat with somebody today, which I'll keep to myself at the moment, but it will blow the lid off a couple of things with regards to people who were surrounding the craze back in the 90s. So that should be quite an interesting story, and it's it's going to take somebody, very brave to come out and tell this particular story. But I've spoken to them today, and they are going to come and do that. So, yeah, look, I think that, I'm all for that. I think it will be a hell of a documentary, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who would want to come forward and say and contribute to that.
Yeah, so that would be really interesting. Now that happens.
Yeah, I've never done anything on the doors either, and there's a lot of former women up here who've got some great stories to tell. We started that during COVID, and we've got that to finish. But there's lots of things I'd like to do, which is finding the time to do it. And I'm back in front of the camera again. At the end of the month, I've got a week's filming in London, so I'm looking forward to doing that and getting back in front of the movie cameras, which is what I really enjoy doing the most.
Oh yeah, that'd be interesting. Maybe you're saying that you've got a pass. What's your plans anyway, Craig? What are you up to?
Me, I'm just working on the podcast as hard as I possibly can. Got a few comedy gigs coming up over the next week or two, so just focused and working every day.
And I'm just decorating my house as usual, getting this done, and I'm not even looking at the garden. The garden is absolutely horrendous.
Love poems. Carl keeps asking. Carl, what I'm going to do is I did do whenever these book reviews were being done from the shed.
Is that a Willie Wooster's dream?
Yeah, dear me, honestly, I've actually sold more books in the last 6 weeks. Every boy's dream books than I had in the past 6 months prior to that. Due to this wonderful publicity, I think, because people want to actually read to see whether it's true. But the love poems are actually published in a book which you can buy on my website, badboysbooks.net. They're actually published in the Craze Book of Slang, and they're not actually love poems, I'm sad to say. In fact, calling them poems is pushing it a little bit, because let's face it, Ronnie and Reggie were better off, better at knocking 7 bags of what out of people on the street, or taking money off people who pulled off a bank job in the East End of London, or garroting them with a blade, than they were writing poetry. But some of the titles included Whippersnapper Cracker Jacker, Bon Jovi is my friend. Yeah, exactly. They're not great, but all of those poems were now released, and they're in a book called The Craze Book of Slang. Is there any love poems? Carl, I'm so sorry, mate, but there's not. And I know that's probably not the real Paddy. Be very surprised if it is. Say. But I to see your drag queen pass for themselves. Yeah, the drag queen passed, although I've got to be honest, it sounds pretty enjoyable, Paddy. You seem to get quite excited when you're talking about it. But yeah, look, the drag queen past, unfortunately, isn't as exciting as everybody would imagine. It was a pantomime that I did. Oh yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
When I was 17, and I'd got the part when I was at college, and it was working for a company called Paper Kite Productions. Billy Fane was the guy who used to be on Biker Grove with a big handlebar mustache. And I actually went out and played the pantomime dame in a pantomime for 60 shows over a 4-week spell, putting the set up, doing the pantomime, taking it down and moving on to the next club. And after doing those 60 shows at the age of 17, I decided that acting wasn't for me. And I walked away until I was 30. But yeah, I will dig a photo out, because I know it's probably going to excite. It's going to excite certain YouTube podcasters. But I will try and dig it out. And I think when you see the image, it doesn't quite live up to John Inman's standards, I'm afraid.
Do you know, I always want to be, this is going to shock you now, right? So at one point I thought I'd love to be a panto dame, right? I thought, oh God, I'd love that. And do you know what? I never once was successful in getting past the panto dame. The closest I came to it, you can't really call it a dame, was actually the stepmother in the ballet Cinderella, which was an absolute, that was a killer, that. But yeah, so the closest I got was the stepmother in the ballet Cinderella. And if anyone doesn't know that, oh God, Prokofiev's music is absolutely beautiful in that ballet, absolutely beautiful. But yeah, that's the closest I ever came. What I'm going to do, just to chance it, I'm going to put the link in here, see if we get any surprises. Here's the link I'm putting up. See if we get any surprises coming in.
I did enjoy playing the villain in pantomime, but that was when I went back into it. It was probably 7 or 8 years ago. Time Theatre in Newcastle. I got to play Ashley Lambias Earp, who was the evil sheriff of Nottingham, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I've never had the opportunity to be able to go and do that since. But if that's the only time I do it, over the run of the pantomime, I played in front of 120,000 people in Newcastle. And I honestly, nothing better than being able to go out and do that, and get booed and have the have the audience in the palm of your hand, Dan, as you know, you've been there, done it, and got the T-shirt. With that respect, it's great to do.
Well, the thing is, this is it. But I always say about a pantomime game, you can say what you want. You can be so irreverent and get away with it. That's what I used to love about it. You can be, to a certain extent, but you can be totally irreverent, and it's great about it. That's what I used to love about it. But never got. You think with all this makeup on and all that, I would have got it. Never did. Never did. Oh yeah, Anne was in the Nutcracker. Yeah, first time I appeared in the Nutcracker, I was 8 years old. 8 years old. It was something's coming on. Here we are. This is going to be something funny, but
Paddy!
So, oh. Oh, that was quick, wasn't it?
He's going to come back on and go, it's me again.
Oh, dear me. Is Craig Annanstead's love child? Carl, you need to be a bit more adventurous with your questions. Yeah. You've moved on from love poems now.
Well, I'm 42 and Steve's 50, so no.
And I'm 35, so there's no chance. So don't you laugh. Don't you laugh. Don't you dare
laugh. I was laughing at Steve.
But yeah, I'm just looking at Steve. Let's see. I'm just looking here. I saw a good question, and it's got. I hate that when it just streams past. Here we are. And do you think if everyone ignored DH, just sent him to Coventry, it would be better? What do you think? Steve and Craig, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, this is the point I was trying to make earlier on. But it's very difficult. I understand from both sides of the fence. I understand why the likes of Tony and co are continuing, and Humble have continued in this particular way. I understand. Look, and once I'd heard and seen what I needed to see last year, then I went and stepped back and took a major back step from it, like Paddy had done before me, and like other people have done, and. There is part and parcel of it, you think, if you just ignore it, but then you'll see people in the chat going, you can't, because he's getting away with it. It's a fine line to tread. It really is. All I know is that at the moment, what's going on, like I said earlier, is that ultimately the channel is growing. It's not declining. I mean, Karma does every now and then has a look at things and goes, subscribers here and this, that, and the other, and but it looks to me as if the channel is growing again.
Oh, yeah, it will do. This controversy will always get you there. And also, let's ask you this question. The acro that he produced, what do you think about it?
It's just a convictions list.
It's not up to date.
Just a convictions list, yeah.
So
it's just a convictions list. There's no NFAs on it. It was pointless. We'd already seen that.
Here we are. What's this? What's this? And look on Heggy's community talking about my kids again.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another post about him not being allowed to see his kids, and you see that all. You listen, he's using that community page a lot more than he used to, and that's just to put things, out.
He's just trying to wind Tony up, really, isn't he? I think he's trying to make Tony bite, so Tony bashes him. And then Tony goes to jail or whatever for it, and then he's out of Decker's way for a bit. That's what I think Decker's trying to do there.
Here we are. Here's one. Dark Secrets. Very good, Craig. Show your acro. I've seen it, Dark Secrets. I've seen the whole lot, and there's
not
nothing
very
on there. There's not. I can assure you, there's nothing on there to shock you. I can assure you.
Yeah, I mean, I've just seen Diane often post some really good stuff. Says, I fear, he's going to get hurt very soon. Some vigilante, he's going to do something daft. I mean,
yeah,
that is my point. And I'm just concerned that things escalate, and you don't want that to happen. You really don't. And you want justice to be served and served properly.
Yeah. So Humble.
Hello, Anne.
Yeah.
Steve, I'm needing a shave on or my but I've just got to stay off the camera for the time being. I'm sure
good to see you on anyway.
Well, that's the first time I actually had problems joining there for some reason. I had to get into through Google or something. I don't know why. Maybe you need to look at that, Anne.
Well, I don't know. So, what did you say? I didn't.
I've been on a couple of live streams. I normally just click right in, but I couldn't get in there. I had to try about 3 times. I had certain steps to follow. I don't know why it's different from it. Maybe because I've not got StreamYard. I don't know.
I don't know.
It quite often, if you're using Safari as a browser and some other browsers, it won't let you in on them. Yeah, it tells you to open Google Chrome. I have the same problem.
Right, Safari I came in on, Craig.
Yeah.
Right, okay, that answers that then. Never know.
Nice to meet you, Humble. Anyway, I've heard an awful lot about you.
How you doing, mate? You're right.
What's the input?
Right, okay. The first input that I see you're hanging on to a lot, okay? And if you apologise for sticking up the picture of my ex, right?
Yeah, I apologise for that.
Right, okay,
I apologise for that.
That was all I wanted because it was nothing to do with her.
I know, I didn't know, but what did I do the minute I was told?
Yeah,
what did I do? I took it down.
You could have asked me first. But anyway, it's done. I'm not going to listen. I'm fed up falling out with people over the head of Decker Hagee. I'm fed up with it. At the end of the day, I've tried to do everything legally. I know things have been twisted, and I know how it portrays to be because somebody will look in for the first time and believe he is a victim. And the reason I know that is because it's happening right now in a live court case, which I can't speak about. There's a live court case going on basically, and I can't speak about it. I can speak basically. Donna's got a gagging order on her. No to do with Decker, okay? But Decker's been brought into the equation, looking the victim. Okay, now Steve hit on it earlier. He is looking the victim right now in a live court case. Now, Darren G, I've got all the messages from that conversation Darren G put up in Decker's exposure, okay? The messages were 13-month-old, and if you want to get back and check in Darren G's Twitter account, they'll be about 15-month-old now, however long since Decker's exposures was out. We offered Darren £1,000. Now, I put £350 into the Kinsella Trust. It was £1,000 over the space of, I think it was 3 months, £350 a month. And it was to do Glasgow to London on the bike ride. Okay? There was no mention about attacking Decker Hagee. And that's where we've consistently asked Darren to put them all up because there was no mention. Don't get me wrong, I'll be brutally honest, I did want him to be a spokesperson for this. But it was in the same time he fell out with James English. He was losing, and then I realised he was institutionalised and he was needing therapy for PTSD or whatever reasons. He's seen a lot of that boy at a young age. And I was kind of glad when the money got returned to us. We did get that money back. Darren never stole a penny from us. I just want to clear that up as well.
But let's put it this way, right? This is what gets me. When you listen to that and you listen to... Well, we've got some... You listen to this. That sounds really sinister.
It does. And I'm going to... I felt that's why I'm pushing out to the boys just now. Do not fall for what happened to me, right? Because the equaliser, Steve's experienced the equaliser, John, the ex-manager, experienced the equaliser. So the first ever message I got from the equaliser was, "You child rapist." Yeah,
Steve
nice.
Got the same. John, the ex-manager, got the same. John's the ex-manager's wife got called at her work and said your husband's a rapist. Now, so I'm feeling sorry for the Equaliser, even though I've got this message from him, right? I'm feeling sorry because I see him being Tony Burkett getting used by Decca. So I reached out to him, but it didn't matter what I said. He twisted it, and he got a reaction from me. He was sent to get a reaction from me. He was sent to get me angry, and in turn, I done that, and I was foolish. I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have reacted. I should have known better. So he picked up 10 voice notes out of 50 voice notes, at least 50, because a messenger only goes up to 60 seconds. So you can imagine I'm getting frustrated. And I did show a pile of money. But at the end of the day, I got a bounce back loan of 50 grand. I can show whatever money I want. I can account for every single penny. My business turning over £90,000 a year before COVID hit. Legally, paying my tax bills. So it is what it is. I can't. People are woefully blinded in some cases.
Well, let's just pick it up on one thing, right? The Equaliser, which you want to pick up on. And for people who don't know, the Equaliser was very much in camp Decca Heggie, wasn't he? Very, very much. And he had the bottle, which I thought was very brave to go on The Honest Truth at a time when The Honest Truth still had that horrible Craig in there. Not Craig, Chris. Anyway, I didn't. No, all I'm seeing is now and again your name coming up, Craig. But I didn't read it that way, Chris. It won't begin with a C. But anyway, now look at it from my point of view, right? Do you know the way he wouldn't question Decca over anything and just took Decca as God and innocent straight away? No one could say anything that would convince him that there was anything to be looked at about Decca. That's the same as I feel when I see people with the criminologist bigging them up. And, oh, he's a good fella. I've had experience of him. Other people have had experience of him. And it's really, really frustrating when people are just... And he was brought on. You can see it on there. He's brought on to The Honest Truth because that was at the beginning the bullying channel to get at me. They made no secrets of that. He was brought in there by Chris Hartley to start putting out all kinds of rubbish about me and saying that he was dehumanizing me, which is a Nazi term, really, to dehumanize someone. Oh, yeah, it's there. You can see it. You'll see the clip on my thing where he's saying it and, going on. And I know that this person really needs to be looked at. Really, before people start signing them, really needs to be looked at. And that's what the bone of contention with me. And that's why. And maybe I went in there too strong on your Humble, because I never wanted to fall out with you. Well, I don't know. Maybe it did. I don't know. Yeah, I'll be truthful. But that just, when you see someone, imagine yourself. And this is where I can understand Chris Hartley. The only time I can understand when Chris Hartley reacted with aggression, when the Equaliser was in there and he just wouldn't listen. He wouldn't listen, full stop. And Chris Hartley went for his throat. Yeah, and all this, listen. And was trying to get him to listen. That's what I feel like with the criminologist. It's like, please, people, just look. Stop taking what he's saying and look. And I know we fell out, and this is, of course, like a division in there. But something needs to be brought together because this warden is just getting nowhere. It's getting it's entertaining. I'll give it that. It's entertaining. But I think what's got me really gutted, as I say, what happened over at Karma Corner, that was like right there. And it stopped being any way playing, or that, let's put it that way, playing silly games. That's what got me. But that's why, think of when you're thinking of the Equaliser, that's what I think of the
which is fair enough. Yeah, I mean, that's your findings. I can only speak as a find. I mean, up until a few days ago, you were going on about Darren Laverty being on this channel, and I didn't have a clue. And I'm sure you can tell now that I did not have a clue. But again, Darren Laverty, aka the criminologist, has only been what I've seen on. I've probably been looking at from a perspective where I'd not nothing. I don't know all the background to this thing. I've just got one person, and it's that's like what I mean. He's got an opinion of you. You've got an opinion of him, and again, it's like I said to Steve, and I've said to Paddy, I don't get involved with stuff that's going on between Steve and Paddy because I don't know, and I know there's families out there looking and hearing it. It's like, and that's the reason I don't get involved. It's
I'll give you.
I want to be friends with everybody on the internet, but I want, at the end of the day, I'm not going to follow out with anybody regarding the Heggie.
I've said that many times, and I've said it to you, John, haven't I? That I would quite happily go on a live with Paddy and discuss it. And if he wants to ask the questions, he can ask the questions. I've got absolutely nothing to hide. And if he just kept us on his podcast the other night, he could have asked away to his heart's content. It still doesn't alter the fact that he will always have one opinion about what happened to Tiger. I will always have another opinion. He can pull out witnesses. I can pull out witnesses. No one's ever going to find out the exact story, and people will believe Paddy if they like him, and people will believe me if they like me. And it's as simple as that. And on top of that, the other stuff is all between him and Stephen. And I have proved beyond all reasonable doubt that, and I can't mention the guy's name because he'll get the video struck off, that the other crime writer is the person who caused all of this in the first place. And
I'm beginning to learn that now, because I've asked another couple of people who's not on YouTube a wee bit about it, and the one that's never mentioned, I think, is the one that's
I've tried to prove it, and I went on to Decker's podcast, if you remember, before all this escalated, and he asked me, did I think Paddy Conroy was a nonce? And I said, no, he's not. And I cleared that matter up on his podcast. And that isn't because of what happened in court. I've never believed he was. And don't forget, it wasn't me who put that post on Facebook. It was Stephen. And as we all know, Stephen was then, arrested and charged after Paddy made the statement. That isn't having a go. We all know what happened. And that was it. That should have been an end to it. But then Paddy seems to believe that I wrote that article in Vice. Well, it's quite clear that I didn't, because the author's name is at the bottom of that article. Yeah. Peter Mann, who used to work with me and do sport, used to do press releases for me for me Newcastle promotion company. He was in court that day, and he took down the notes and he sent them to that reporter. I give additional information, which is what it says at the bottom, i.e., getting the name of, getting the age right and telling a little bit about the background. I didn't write the story. And again, that's just, it's a play on words. He's using it because he's defending himself. And I understand why he's doing it, but I've tried to explain this to everybody. I can't. I go on and on and on. Now he's trying to make out that there's a conspiracy. He said that I was hammering him on Twitter. I provided True Media. I provided John from Criminal Underworld the screenshot of the one tweet that I sent out. And that one tweet was me retweeting the Vice article by saying Paddy Conroy, the downfall of Paddy Conroy. And that's it. He's saying that's a smear campaign. It's not a smear campaign. He says that it was me running the Facebook groups and I was sharing it and it went to millions of people. Utter rubbish. I am very aware of what the malicious communications law is, and I didn't do that. So, look, we'll always go around in circles. I don't know whether he thinks that, I'm going to suddenly cave in, whether he thinks I'm going to go to the police and report all of this or whatever. I'm not going to do any of these things. I can go round and round in circles, and I can make money off YouTube like everybody else by constantly coming out and putting my side of the story across. I'm getting bored with it, but if he wants to continue, let him do it. If not, let's have it out on a live. I'll come on his channel, stick the link in. Tony's the man to sort it out, and let's do it. And the paperwork that Stephen Anderson keeps talking about, I put the link in the chat about 5 times earlier on. It's underneath the videos that Stephen says it's got on my channel. It's a Google Drive. Click the Google Drive, download all the paperwork and read it to your heart's content. The police informer bit, might as well go on to that. The last bit about the police informer bit. Phil Berryman's book, The Wacky Batty Boat, he quite clearly states in there, from his perspective, that Paddy Conroy is a police informer. So that is classified as research. When I wrote that book, I wrote Stephen Sayers' book, Tried and Tested. So that's Stephen Sayers. I'm the writer. It's his book. It's his story. He says that Paddy's a police informer. Now, this is in defense to Conroy going on to McIntyre and saying that the whole family were coppers and grassers, etc. So do you not think Stephen's entitled to have a little bit, a little bit of reply to what Conroy went on to national TV and said? I do. That's what, and I wrote the book, but I wrote the book for Stephen, and in Operation Sears, I give a more balanced view. I give my opinion. So when you read Operation Sears, the second book, which I know he hasn't read, then there is a bit more of a balanced opinion from my perspective. But just to clear this up once and for all of those in the chat, I do not think Paddy Conroy is a nonce or a sex offender.
No,
and
no,
I have never said that. And I have never said that at all. Do I think he's a police informer? Again, from my perspective, the books that I have written, I can give an opinion on what other people think, but I don't give my opinion. Am I going to say now that I think he's a police informer or that he's not? No, I'm not. I'm going to choose to do that on my own platform at some point. But the books that I've written, take from them what you will. But there's only one person to blame for this mess, and he's got a Birmingham accent, and he's milked the Essex boys stuff for many years, and he tried to do that up here. But
well, we've seen how we taught Paul Massey's family. That was totally
disgusting. And I ended up in the middle of that as well. I ended up in the middle of that because poor Kelly was defending her dad's name, and I am so pleased that I could help her get her story out there about her dad at a time when she was still grieving from having her dad shot dead on the doorstep. And you know what? I'm really pleased that I did that, and I'm really pleased I got up his nose again, because that bloke really deserves karma, and he'll get it in some way, shape or form. I've got voice recordings with him threatening to shoot me, which I have tried more than one occasion to get on the internet, but he strikes any channel down. He's another person who strikes the channel down if you put them out. But his time will come, and
on that note, I just want to state to everybody in the chat that neither you or Paddy's ever asked me to take any sides. You've never stopped speaking to me in a chat. Neither's Paddy stopped speaking to me. So it's like fair. It's your stuff. It's again, I'm not going to fall out with anybody. I think Paddy's funny on a lot of occasions.
I do, and I got on with him before that. Funny. I went down to interview him. I went down to interview him with Neil Jackson. We had a great time. And he knew that I was friendly with the Sears. And look, it's because I wrote the book. I understand it, and there's nothing else I can do. But look, the offer's there. Tony Burkett's close to him. Get me on his live. I won't shout and bawl. I'll come on and I'll answer any questions he wants. It's not a court, mind. It's not a trial. But I am genuinely using Anne's platform here, and go and clip it. People go and send it. Go and send it to him. I will go on Paddy's live, not KRN, not Anne's, not Humble Dryers, not Video Craig's. Don't want it to be on mine. I will 100% come on Paddy Conroy's live, and we will have a discussion.
Oh, it can be funny to. I know what I had to laugh at the other day was he talking about you, Steve. I only caught the beginning of it, and he was with. I think he was with Tony and Paul Ellis, and he was saying, he was look at him. He was in A Midsummer Night's Dream, as book a fairy, and he was going.
Well, I mean, and it's funny, and I laugh at that. And I mean, yeah, I got cast as a 7-year-old as Puck in A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's something my mum and dad were immensely proud of. Again, I'll probably be able to dig that particular photograph out. You know what I mean? But look, Tony can take that back, and I don't expect it'll happen. But look, the offer's there. There's plenty of people in the chat who are big supporters of Paddy.
Paddy is also welcome. Sorry, Steve. Paddy's also welcome to come onto my podcast anytime he wants. I'll come to him, bring me equipment, and he can have his say like everybody else can.
Which is fair play.
Yeah. And of course, Sean Atwood is up in the north now, and did a little podcast.
What's he up to?
One word, Daddygate.
Did you see him with Jen? I just caught a bit of it. Jen, he's doing. Do you know what I've said to Sean? I said, keep away from the comedy. I said to Mitch, go. It's like, because you can't do it. You come out as looking odd when he's doing this. He tries to be funny, and it never comes off as funny. It just comes off that he looks. you know, like he's got problems, shall I put it that way? It just doesn't look, he can't do comedy, Sean, but he keeps on trying it. But anyway, one thing
while Tony Burgett's on as well, just to clear up what happened at Christmas. Yeah, I had a drink. Me and Craig had a good day out with Stephen and a few of the lads, and we had a good meal. But yeah, look, I put a comment in. He screenshotted it and stuck it over to Paddy, and Paddy used that against me. We had a bit of banter backwards and forwards on YouTube over the Christmas period, and I said, choose your side, and you know, you've got to hold your hands up and say, yeah, that's what I did, but. That's not a threat. It's not. It's me saying choose your side, and Tony chose his side, and good luck. You know, good fair play to him for doing that. You know what I mean? He stuck by his convictions, which Tony always does. Hence the reason that he's still leading this charge against the guy from the car.
The Beast.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. So anyway, just address one issue, right? That I'll get out the way now that you're here, humble. That I'll explain now, though it's out there on Sean Atwood's interview I did with him about these assault allegations, right? I'll go over them very, very quickly. What happened was
so I've nipped at you because you've nipped at me, right? So
yeah,
we'll get that cleared up so we can sort right.
Well, this is where you can find out that liar mouth, the criminologist, is lying and twisting things again. Because what did he say yesterday on The Honest Truth? That I was kicked out of the police for sexual assault and throwing excrement on walls and things like that. Strange, because the one about the sexual assaults was in 2000, or when it would have been about 2007, something like that. And I didn't leave the force until 2011. So they spent a long, long time kicking me out for it. So he's just lying, as he usually is. Now, what happened was, and I'll go over it quickly, and I'll actually get the paperwork out at some point and show it if I've still got it, because you used to have a big bundle of all the paperwork from there. I was at Admiral Street Police Station, rapid response, and went into business, which isn't illegal if you tell the professional standards. It's not illegal for anyone that works with the police to go into a business as long as it doesn't clash with the police work. You're all right, because he had a shop of his own as well. Now, anyway, so that's another thing that he's lying about. You can't do it. What happened was, and it was the most stupid thing going, we were on late. I was in the office, and he must have been in mood. He came in, and there was something said, and it was that pathetic I can't even remember it. Next thing, he's screaming at the top of his voice, calling me and this, that, and the other. And you know what I'm like with Kirsten and stuff like that. So I said, right, I've had enough of this, because it's been going on for a long, long time. I was getting, when I first went to Admiral Street, it was fine for the first few months. Then it turned nasty, because I used to say it was gay, and thank God I said it was gay, because if I'd revealed at that point I was in sex, God knows what would have happened to me in that station, because saying it was gay was proved to be a nightmare in itself. So he did that. So I said, I'd been saying I wanted to move from this block that I was on, because you don't understand it, right? When you've got a whole host of bobbies in a room telling you you're crap, you're this, you're that, you're the other. Like what you're getting, Steve. You're a fairy, you're this, that, and the other. That's what I was having to put up with. I said, move me. I'd gone down to 7 stone. I think it was 7 stone in weight. My collar was like that on my shirt. I was that thin with the stress of it. And what happened was, we had this argument. They didn't move. We had this argument. So I said, that's it. And I walked out the station. That's something you never do. I walked right out and went home. Next thing, knock on the door. They were going mad, me inspector and sergeant. I told them to go and do one. I said, I asked to move. You haven't. I said, you can get lost. I had no intention of complaining. I didn't. I said, just move me to another block and I'll be all right, because not all blocks would like that. So then what happened was, this CID officer calls down, and thankfully I was in my neighbour's house, so he got confused and thought that was where I lived. And this CID officer called down with their inspector, and he was coming down, asking me what was going on. And I said, look, I've been I just can't put up with the things that are being said. I said, I can't come into work without being insult after insult after insult. And they said they're all getting into this gang up mode. I said, because they're feeding off each other. I said, just move me. I said, that's why I walked out. And he said, oh, all right, we'll move you. Well, next thing, I'm called in to see human resources, and they turned around and they said, oh, you're being suspended. So I said, me? So they said, now remember, I was the one that walked out the station, me. They said, there's been 2 complaints made about you of sexual harassment. And I said, what? And they said 2 officers said you sexually harassed them. So I said, oh, did they? And I said one of the names. I said, oh, he said, I said, ironic, I walk out. I said, he thinks I'm going to put a complaint in about him, which it wasn't. And I said, he comes back with that. Now, I ask you this, right? I'll just finish this bit off, though. So that's with, so I, for a year, the public were kind enough to pay for me to sit on my backside as this was going on. Then the second one came out, the second allegation. I found out who it was. I was interviewed under caution. The first one, I knew who it was straight away. And I said, well, I said, it's obvious that he thought I was going to complain about him. Now, this is what happened, right? These police officers, and we all have notebooks that we write things off. You have to write everything in your notebook.
Well, back then you would have.
Yeah, definitely, you had to, and you would have gone stupid. Not once did they mention in the notebooks that I'd ever touched any of them, these 2. There was nothing in it. They'd never approached supervision, which you're supposed to do, and said, look, I've just had this happen to me. Never did. And this was the killer, which the CPS turned around and said, go and get lost. This looks everything that can't. They said, this is just not, there's something going on here. They said, deal with it internally. There was an officer on, I remembered, because the second officer who said, I went up to and not sexually assault him. He didn't say I sexually assaulted him. Liar mouth is making out the criminologist that was said. It wasn't. What he said was, oh yeah, let's get this straight. The first sexual assault was apparently I kissed the first officer, right? That's a sexual assault. I kissed him. So, and I did this in a room with 2 officers there, one that hated my guts. Well, I must have been begging to be sacked and arrested, you know, if I did that. So anyway, the second one, this is where they got them for the lying. He turned around, it was Boxing Day, and he was from the ARVs. These are the ones with the guns that go out with the guns, the armed officers. And he was actually being shadowed by someone else that day. And he was there, and he never left the side of this officer that said I'd gone up and threatened. This was the sexual assault, apparently. He said that I went up to him and said, would you like me to put my finger up your hole? Right? And made a move towards him. Right in front of this female officer that hated my guts. Again, I'm doing it. But he forgot that this ARV officer was there. And I remembered. And I said, well, that ARV officer was there. Said, have you got a statement of him, of what he saw? They went to this ARV officer, found him, and he provided the statement. And he said in the statement, at no point did I do anything or say anything that was suspicious or alarmed him. At no point. That's the sexual assault out the way. The officer that made the original one, the first officer, he was sacked. Right? Mm-hmm. So that happened to him. The dirty protest was when I was speaking out about a cover-up going on in the force. And that was when I was at it was Speak Police Station. It wasn't Belvale, Speak Police Station. And I was on nights. Anyway, you're talking about a police station. Just let's put this way, Humble. A police station that has got officers all over it. You're talking about 2 inspectors on duty and a sergeant on duty. And during the daytime, you usually have a chief inspector on duty there. So anyway, this is going on. I got the morning shift comes on 7 o'clock. We go off. So I went off home. Next time I come in is for the second nighttime shift. I'm asked to go upstairs by my sergeant. And he said, do you know anything that happened in the toilet last night? So I said, no. And I'll give you a little shocker about this, which is actually documented. So I'm not making it up. And so I said, no. I said, why? What's going on? And so he said, they found excrement on the floor. Do you know the way he was saying it was throwing everywhere? Liar mouth again. No, they said there was excrement on the floor. So I'm sitting there and said, no. I said, why? And then I suddenly thought, wait a minute, why has he asked me? So I said, just let me ask you something, Sarge. I said, and I got on with this sergeant.
That's something you referred to as vinegar tits at one point in your videos.
Oh, vinegar tits. That was the one that hated me, that claimed she'd seen these assaults going on, these sexual assaults. Right,
Vinegar
and one
tits.
of them.
Sorry, I remember that one.
Oh, she was disgusting. She was. She used to sit there like a fella with her legs wide open. And I used to say, do you mind? I'd say, I can see it winking at me. I said, can you close your legs and be a lady? I said, it looks disgusting, that. But she reckoned that she saw these. And we hated each other. Why would I do it in front of her? Ask yourself that. Anyway, going on about this dirty protest. I said, am I the only one you've asked this? And so he said, yeah. Well, I blew. And know what they say? Violent. They don't mean physical violence. They mean that I can absolutely. It's the Italian coming out of me. I go really bad, and I've had big sergeants, big beardy police officers clinging onto the wall like that when I go, because they don't expect it. I just go.
Good job you didn't have Red on top of that Italian.
I'm telling you now. But anyway, this is what happened. It wasn't that the CCTV was wiped. There's no CCTV inside the station. It's on the front desk and outside, not inside the station. Now, get this right. This was supposed to happen during the night shift. So you've got bobbies coming on and off duty, about 50 bobbies. Are you telling me that in winter, not the only person that used that toilet was me? The only one that used that toilet was me. No,
I suppose it'd have been easy for somebody to set you up to make you look as if it was you. Yeah.
Well, this is what happened. Again, I was suspended for a year. And thanks to the taxpayer of this country, I sat on my backside for a year. That's why I look so young and beautiful. I got paid for 2 years of my life and never done a scrap of work. Anyway, it got to the interview under caution. And I have my solicitor with me, whatever not. And they were going on. I had the good cop, bad cop routine going on. It was funny. And he said, you did a dirty protest. So I said, well, show us these pictures. I said, can I see the pictures of this date or whatever you're talking about? Anyway, he showed me pictures. It was clean. There was nothing there. And I looked at the solicitor and said, just check. I said, can you see anything there? I said, can you point where it is? And he went, It was cleaned up. It was cleaned up. So I said, well, where are the cleaning utensils? And he went, they were thrown away. But this is the point. It wasn't that CCTV had been wiped. About 10 steps from the toilet are 2 evidence cameras. And you say to any officer that there's a scene of any crime or anything, first thing they do, evidence cameras. Remember as well, there were 2 inspectors on duty, 1 sergeant on duty at that time. Not one of them thought of going to the evidence cameras and photographing it. So again, when the CPS saw it, they said there's absolutely nothing here to say that anything happened. And Jordan, when they were actually asking the cleaner about it, they were saying to the cleaner, well, what happened? She went at one point, she said in the statement, which I picked up on straight away, and I'm sorry about my language, yes, it smelled like shit. And so I pointed to the solicitor and said, why is she saying, yes, it smelled like shit when she's not being asked what it smelled like? I said, they fiddled with the evidence. They've told her what to say in the statement. I said, why is she saying yes? I said, she's answering a question. I said, but the question isn't in there. I said, they've left out the question by mistake. And he said straight away, he said, they've set you up. They set me up. And funny enough, what you were saying, this bit, I'd said to my sergeant and had said to a chief inspector, I'm going to be set up here because there was a female officer who was the head of the Gay and Lesbian Support Network, GLISTEN as it was called then. And she had come, I'd bumped into her and we couldn't stand each other. And I said to her at one point, I said, I bet you may know about what's going on about these kids being trafficked. I said, you know. And anyway, I blasted out in a fit of temper. And I went up to my sergeant and I said, I'm going to get a hit back here. I said, they know that I want them because I said she'll be right to the top dogs telling them what I've said. That's what happened. Exactly. Well, and this same officer, and I've got it in the disciplinary papers. You know how the liar, the criminologist says I didn't go to disciplinary. I did, and I've got the disciplinary papers, right? In the disciplinary papers, I said she turned around in a meeting with senior officers and said about me, this could compromise the situation about all of us. I got that by mistake because the PSD, when they gave me the file, which they have to when you go into disciplinary, forgot to leave it out. And this officer, the head of the Gay and Lesbian Network, she put on us, this could compromise the situation for all of us. What the hell can you compromise if there's nothing going on, no cover-up going on?
Have you ever thought about putting the criminologist on alive with you?
No, because I wouldn't talk to him. I wouldn't lower myself to talk to him.
The only thing sometimes to resolve things to speak about them.
No, Mr. Humble, right? I'll tell you this now, right? I'm willing to make peace with you, right? I'm willing to make peace. I'd love to make peace with Carl McCorn. I'd love to. I made peace with Sean Atwood after what he did, trying to label me, which he did. He tried to label me a predator as well and all this business. I made peace with him. There's certain people I won't, and he's one of them. I will never, ever, ever, as long as I am alive, get to that man and talk to him because I treat him with nothing but the contempt he deserves because he's put people through so much misery, which he has. That's why I say ask him, produce your acro and all this. If you want, anyone does a Drodsy isn't anyone else's. So, always someone, Emma, you know the name. I just says, are you a Scouser, Emma? Because you've used the term maypole. Only Scousers use the term maypole. But yeah, here we go. I could tell this all to the. He's not interested. He's not interested. He hates my guts because, as I say, and you'll see it there, he was the one that came to me. I didn't go to him. He came to me because I wouldn't be used by him. He did, and all this. He's got a blog, which I haven't got a blog about him. When you read, it's all nonsense. It's not actually leading to it. It's just nonsense.
Would that not be the better reason to have a debate with him then?
No, because he's scum and I wouldn't talk to him. I'd never, ever, ever. It's gone on too long. I remembered him when I twigged who he was. I remember what he used to get up to in the past. And I know or have a good idea what he has been up to. And I wouldn't go near him. I wouldn't go near him with a barge pole. So there'll never be any joy there. And I say to anyone, insist before you make friends with them, insist on looking into it.
So what
put
about
it all out
there? And I hate to interrupt, I've got to go because I've got to go and put the kids to bed. So
okay, Steve.
I've got to go as well. It's 10 o'clock.
Oh, go on, get lost, run
remember
away.
Remember and get the ironing done, Steve, before bed, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If anyone wants to jump in, but that's okay, Steve. So thanks for that anyway.
Thanks, been great. And Humble, good to see you on here, and thanks to Craig as well. But thanks very much. I'll be on again soon and get you on.
Oh, we're on Wednesday, aren't we?
Yeah, see you on Wednesday.
What's the news? Yeah, we're on Wednesday. So yeah, that's has this gone through? Yeah, that's what happened, right? So all this rubbish about I was and why would I talk about it? I would never have gone on Sean Atwood and talked about it. But this is what he does. He twists. I didn't go for him. He went for me because he couldn't use me. And he slithers. I could see him doing it. Once he saw he had Carl McCorn in his grasps, he was like, I don't know what this is, but I don't like the name of it. Right, so I'm sorry.
I can't see the chat. I can't do both.
Oh no, you can't. It's just I don't like. No, I'm sorry. I'm not letting you on, mate. I don't like the. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I get it. I know who it is. Sorry. It was the name put me off. I get you. So it's Anthony.
Damn me, Savile.
Are you Tony? He's gone now. I know. I thought, is this? I couldn't see his head though. I thought this is going to be something weird. But I let him on, but he's gone off again.
So Anne, the honest truth, but again, like, these guys have only ever treated me. We've had debates about things, so they've been all right with me. So I don't know the problem. I don't know what happened away before then, and this is why I try and stay.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with you being friendly with the honest truth. Look, other people that I like, Emma and Brian, who I really like a hell of a lot, are always on there. I've got my personal issues with them because I went through with them, and I say no one has to look far. Just look to the first videos. He treated me, as I've said. You can see it. The evidence is there. What people want to, I'll put it together. He wasn't only on Uncle Bobby on his own channel doing it. He was on Odyssey doing it. A whole show after my dog died, just skipping and jeering me, hate speech about me and going on about my dog. That was lovely. What he started up with this other podcaster. No point going on about this podcaster got kicked off. People hated me for it. I was the devil in disguise. And suddenly it's like Uncle Bobby's, the voice of compassion, the voice of this. And I thought, well, you never showed me one tad of compassion. And this is what I say about when people go, you're calling us neo-Nazis. They all seem to flock to first, well, they were all on. You had Old School PC, was one of the worst ones, to the honest truth, which I expected because the honest truth were all wheezy. Go to the earliest ones and you'll see them wheezy. This is your channel as well. This isn't neo-Nazi on Odyssey, by the way. That denies the Holocaust now. And they were all doing that. Then for some reason, they all jumped onto Ronan's. And I warned Ronan. I said, you've got them on here as well. But they were behaving themselves on Ronan. They weren't behaving themselves on the honest truth. So in Ronan's, it wasn't really going on at me. But for some odd reason, they jumped onto Jockney Sparrow. And all that you could see, people were saying to me, have you seen this Jockney Sparrow? So I said, I've noticed him. And someone said, look at the live. He's saying something horrendous. Oh, wait, it's a funny one. They're saying something horrendous. Oh, it's Steve. He's back again. Hey, that mask isn't bad. I want one of them. Hey, that's not bad. Yeah, not bad. I don't mind you. You're quite good at doing your masks, aren't you? Yeah, not bad. I don't mind. You're quite good at doing your masks, aren't you?
Hey, everyone all right?
Yeah, fine. I recognise that voice. Speak again.
Is everyone all right?
No, you've changed it now. I got your voice then. I know when you know someone's voice. So what's your input today?
Mr. Humble Dryer.
I know that voice.
I know that voice, and it's killing me because I can't get it. And I think I know what it is, but I'm not going to say.
All the evidence should be put in front of them. Because you keep saying that you've got all this evidence and stuff that you can prove against them. So why don't you not get rid of him now instead of waiting to put it out?
What evidence I've got is confidential.
It's just dragging it on. It's confidential. If it was proof to put him away, he would have been put away by now.
The echo's killing
me.
And
do you think that?
Well, what he's saying is that what a lot of people are saying is that if there was anything against Decker Heggie, would he have been put away by? He would have been put away by now. That's what he's saying.
But what I will say is there's
Exactly.
at least four,
And like,
four police constabularies sitting with a pile of evidence. Okay. The echo's killing me. Can you
you all have got like a hate against him and nothing.
can you not turn your volume down so it doesn't echo back? Are you
Trying to
are you wearing earpods or something?
No, it's not.
sorry, mate.
It's not MMA philosophy.
Sorry, mate.
No, MMA.
Yeah, it's not a case. With some people, it's a vendetta. You can tell it's a vendetta. There's no doubt about it. But some people have got genuine concerns because Decker doesn't do himself any favors. He doesn't.
You know, I followed the story. No, I know he should just get his acro out and just prove the cunt.
He's never got to do it though, has he?
Sorry for swearing.
That's all right.
That's a wee bit better than this. I'm going to take my earpods and I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Okay. See, that's it. People have got genuine concerns.
It was the other night when Steve dived on Paddy's.
Oh yeah, it was funny that. So anyway, Heather, what have you got to say on this matter?
Oh wow, I'm sorry, the echo. I've got my mic.
Which matter?
What is your PLW? You're echoing and it's putting people off.
Your drums out.
Is there any way you can mute when Heather's talking? Can you mute your mic so that she can not hear it? What I can do for me, can't I? So go on, Heather. That should
hello. Hi, thank you, everyone. Hi, nice to speak with you, Humble Dryer. PLW. Yeah, just joining. I was pretty busy the last.
You can't hear it now, can you?
No, we can't hear it now. That's brilliant now. PLW. Sorry, Heather.
Oh,
go on, Heather.
Oh, no, that's all right. You know, people know I do sort of boring landlord stuff. I had to interview like 15 people for a room the other day. So, but yeah, I've been catching the broadcast, and then I was just hearing that last bit before I jumped in about going back to what is truth and like, yeah, the Holocaust denialism stuff.
Oh,
which is where I came into it because I'm like, when I say I'm a nobody, that doesn't mean I'm like shitting on myself or anything. It means in this scene, I'm not a podcaster. I'm not, you know, I just called to do a radio show, and that whole scene, you know, I've seen that with you, Anne, how that all went down. Yeah, I could basically just sit there and confirm that. And there are certain people who were told information, you know, such as Ronan and who that crew went to, as well as Jack Sparrow. There was that kind of overlap there. They went there and started to crap up in the chats there. But you know, like I had sent this stuff to like Ronan and
Ronan doesn't listen.
Yeah, and that was like the complaints where it shows the evidence of like all the videos I had to remove with YouTube legal and for what reasons. And it's like you can't. You know, Uncle Bobby, I saw part of the broadcast. I didn't get to watch all of it, but I did see a part where the Uncle Bobby, who I don't really affiliate with the Honest Truth because of the fact of what like these guys pulled on me. Yeah, you know, so I'm not going to go like I'm not going to go deal with those guys. But I did watch some of it to understand kind of what was going on today. And Uncle Bobby was all like, "Oh, true media, yeah, I can trust true media 98%. If he's put something up, it's true." And it's like, well, I know that's not the case because I was misidentified. I was accused of being someone I wasn't. My extended family members were doxxed. My mother's picture was put up, where she worked, the school she went to, with threats and videos that were 13 minutes long, and All or Nothing Dazcam TV, Bell Ringer. Exposure of trolls, What is Truth, Chancer was in on that too. They were all doing that. They were all circulating sometimes the same video with, you know, legal names of my relatives, the full name and picture of a 16-year-old second cousin of mine. That is dangerous. That's really dangerous.
Well, this is what happened
a year ago. That would have been a year ago now. They pulled that shit a year ago.
But this is what happened. See, you remember it, and you can understand where I'm coming from because you went through it as I did, and another person was Reese did as well. He got a hell of a lot of homophobia from all that. A hell of a lot of homophobia.
And I'm personally horrified, Anne, by the story you told about what you had to go through in the capacity of your job, because I haven't.
Oh God,
you put it in a way that which the way that you put it tonight is a really, if you've got to watch the Sean Atwood sort of interview to get through it the past, but I think the way you've explained it's like I've heard so many stories like that. I believe you, Anne, and that's
I remember him
thing you went through.
Do you remember Wheezy? He came on and he was talking on the Honest Truth. This was the nice, love and caring community Uncle Bobby. And you'll see it's still up there if you go to the early ones. And Wheezy's on there. And my dog had only been dead a couple of days by this time. And Wheezy's going on, karma, this is karma. In other ways, trying to make out that because I fought back against him and his hate that karma was hitting back at me. But what happened a day later? It was only a day later, wasn't it? His cousin went and died. And I was so eager to say, but I didn't. Karma. But I stopped myself doing it because I thought, no, that would be cruel. But I had to put up with a whole week, well, more than a week. And that horrible Chris Hartley putting up, which you'll see on there, is Avi Bonzo. And then they jumped over to Odyssey and were doing it on there, but they were doing it worse on Odyssey because they get away with it on Odyssey. But again, as I've said, Heather, and this is what I always say, and I've always said to people when they become victims or something like that, don't worry, because they put their future in your hands. And what I mean by that is when they want to walk away and forget it, which Bobby wants to forget it all, and Chancer wants to and forget it all. Guess what? It's up to me. It's up to you. It's up to whoever else had to put up with it to say, no, we'll decide when you can walk away. You won't. And Ronan's right in that boat now because Ronan knows what he's doing. He had that Nick fella on. I pointed out to Ronan. I said, have you seen what he's saying about me? In the comments there, he's calling me a predator. He's coming out with hate speech. This is Ronan, who's down with the LGBTQIs and the intersex people, not intersex, the transgender people, right? He sent me an email. I've got the email for Ronan. Oh, that is unacceptable. I'll remove it, but don't you contact me again, because he was fed up with me. So fair enough. It's still up there. And what does he do? He invites Nick on and says, this wonderful, great person, doesn't he? So I can tell you now, go a few months down the line, Ronan's going to be in exactly the same position as Wheezy was. He's going to be in exactly the same position Bobby is now, where they're wanting to make out that they're wonderful people. They wouldn't do anything wrong. They're not going to be like that. I can turn around and say, here we are, let me refresh your memory. And that's what's happened with this Kelly one. Because I decided she's trying to forget her past now, all the horrendous things she said, all the bigotry she came out with. And as I turned around and said, I was just sitting there and I was watching her when this trans woman was being interviewed by Ronan, and she saw, no, sweetie, kissy, and thought, right now, should I let her move on? Or should I now give an example of how her future on social media is right in my hands, and she put herself in my hands. So I thought I'll show her that it's in my hands. And now she's all, ooh, I'm a victim. No, she's just being reminded that she was a vicious bigot who joined in with all the hate. And she's admitted she still loves Wheezy. She still loves him.
Wheezy is busy on Odyssey, with a regular guest that is like a third-rate Holocaust denier.
Yeah.
And pretty, come over to parts of Europe and try that. He's getting away with it on Odyssey because he's attracting more of an American audience through that. But I don't know, just like Holocaust denialism doesn't really tend to fly here, except in certain segments of the population. For me, I think that I have a right to remind people what these people are capable
Yeah.
of. If you call your channel things like Honest Truth or What is Truth or True Media, and you are willing to go as far as they did with that kind of language, literally depicting you as Nazi, supporting it, I literally, there's, this guy, What is Truth, threatening me on live streams with like people like Brian Harvey. I am like, I didn't even have a YouTube channel before this. I had 64 people. I had a channel since 2000. I'm not a podcaster or a YouTuber. They just misidentified me as someone they hated.
Yeah.
And if they're willing to go after extended family, aunts, great aunts, and kids because of whatever they think you've done, to put up a private Facebook group where they put up like where they thought I lived, the number of my housing organization, asked people to call my housing organization. They were asking
the sort of thing what they've done in Decca as well.
Me. Like, that's crazy, and one of their Yahoo followers might go do something. It's dangerous. It's really dangerous.
Well,
and I think most of them realize now.
Branded a nonce, you should be killed, man.
Yeah.
Well, shall I tell you now, one thing that you've got to, that is all wrapped up in this as well. So she said, the danger of it. Now, that's what happened nearly with me and True Media as well. Because I said to True Media, we know who did it. Thought that they were doxing my address to Darren. And they thought they were doxing his name and address to Darren and gave it to him. Now, there's only one reason this person did this. They thought Darren would come after us. And Darren has got a violent background. But Darren isn't stupid. He doesn't want to go back.
I think he goes on pretend to be violent. I don't think he really is.
Oh, he wouldn't do it because he doesn't want to go back to prison. But that's how dangerous it gets. And that's why I say that's why people have got to understand when me and other people, when we see Uncle Bobby doing this, I'm everybody's friend, I'm all empty. We can remember, and it wasn't an age ago, a completely different, nasty, vicious bully who came out with some of the better things. Yeah.
And you've got to think, right, if Darren G does anything against the law, he's going to spend another 10 years in prison, man. Worth it, man. Do you know what I mean? He's kind of be that thick to not do that. Do you know what I mean?
That's why he ran away when that fella came at him.
With that BMX, with the mountain bike.
Yeah, he can't afford. And people saying that was set up. I don't believe it was set up. Look, right.
He can shout and try and pretend to be the gangster, but he can't.
But he won't do it. The problem he's going to have is when his brother gets out.
His brother will never get out, man.
But he said he is getting out, isn't he?
Right.
I was shocked by that. I thought I can't see it.
I can't personally.
He said himself, Dan, there's serious issues there. Serious issues going on there. So it's sad. But what else did you want to say, Heather?
Just the last point was about that Nick Williams fellow who, because I didn't really know anything, wasn't even talking to you or knew anything, and in fact, because of all the awful, crazy things I was seeing, I was basically put off from talking to Anne like the very last. But then I was reassured. I was like, people are going, talk to Anne, so I was like, all right, So this tells you like what you see isn't like real on the YouTube. You need to contact people and talk to people, because Anne equally seeing lots of things about me probably was like, so because there was so much terrible stuff. But that Nick Williams, started early on coming onto my channel.
As soon as a rumor starts, right, and it gets spread, it becomes vicious.
Yeah, but talking on Facebook, being like a friendly, and I was just talking to different people, and like, I didn't really know who was who and like kind of what was what, and I was getting all the spoof accounts of myself, like just weirdness. I was just trying to sort out what in the mother F is going on, actually, because now suddenly I went from like nobody ever on YouTube, never making videos, to now hours of content about me, threatening my family, all kind of who's who. Nick Williams, talk to me. And we talked, and I was starting to think of like doing a little lives and podcast and covering this and stuff because it's just so weird. And I said, "Yeah, come on." I thought he was, a bit nuts, but I was like, "I'll talk to, I'll talk to anybody."
Being friendly.
The guy flipped it. He started basically like he flipped. He just went mental. He was already quite, I was tolerated the unhingedness, but a few months into it, then he like flipped and then started saying like I blocked him from being on my show, and then he accused me of being part of a conspiracy to abduct Madeleine McCann, and then threatened me, and then said, "Oh, I'm a lawyer in training," blah blah blah, and he says his life is under threat, and then he was all mad at me that I didn't follow this scoop about the Madeleine McCann disappearance.
What
so
he does,
accused me of being part of it, and I was like, "Look, I basically said to him, just to finish that thought, that if the biggest scoop of your life, that's a big journalist scoop, is something you're taking to a lady who's a landlord in affordable social housing with the cat that basically isn't even on YouTube, and that's your big scoop and your hope, and you're turning on me, then you're
what he does,
loser."
For people that don't know Nick Williams, and I tried to warn Ronan about this,
Heard his name.
He's dead nice to you. I've got all the messages I got from him. He comes on and he's, but if you look at him closely, you can see there's something not right going on there. And that's why I'm careful about what I say about him, because I think, I get the sense, you see, he's much older than people think. And he wears this thing on this scarf, because if you see his neck, it's hanging in folds. So he's not young. And I can just tell by his mannerisms. You'll see him when he's starting his life, it'll be doing all this business, you can tell. So I don't like being too mean on him, because I think there's something going on there that's dementia wise, or it's the start of it, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Now the next thing,
I get that. He does say he has brain damage and memory problems,
but he comes
brain damage.
But wait a minute, Heather, we're not talking about death, we're talking about him. But anyway, what he did, he sent me loads of messages. Then suddenly, woof like that, and everyone gets to say, he goes on about Madeleine McCann, he's got information. Then woof like that, click your fingers, he's accusing you of being a predator, he's accusing you of doing this. I know your crimes, I know. He's going to do it to the criminologist, he'll do it. So anyway, what happened was, he can't hold a thought. So as I see him, let him get on with what he's doing. But it's going to bite Ronan in the backside, and of course, who was bigging him up? Ronan and the mass detective and that Lucifer fella, whoever he is.
This happens a lot on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, I know, because you can't control who comes on. That's it.
No, you can be friends for 1 minute, and then the next minute, enemy.
Yeah. But he was particularly, wasn't he, Heather? He was particularly surprising, because he'd just go like that. You weren't expecting it. Usually, there's a build-up. You'll fall out with someone. You didn't even have to fall out with him. And he
no, not at all. He just decides. Then
the next day, you're getting an email, which I've got up on my community post. It's like, "Oh, I know we've had issues, but you think you could help me in all this?" It's like, wait a minute, I thought I was a predator, and you're asking me for help now. And then he's coming again. Yeah.
Could you ask Rhonda to come in? I'm just actually pressed the chat here, and I see Rhonda. I didn't know I could actually do this.
Who's Rhonda?
Rhonda Briggs.
Hello, Mr. Humble.
Hello, Flo. You all right?
Yeah.
Well, I'll put it in, Rhonda,
if you
want
in the corner.
I've spoke to you before, Mr. Humble, and you talked to me about how much I should hate Decker.
Sorry, mate, go for it.
You tortured me how much I should hate Decker, because I wasn't really interested in Decker, and you were like, Decker this, Decker this, Decker. I wasn't really interested, but you got me interested in it.
Are you the guy that's been clean for a wee while? It's split up with your missing?
Aye.
Are you doing all right, yeah?
Not really, no.
Well, you've got my number, mate.
It's mad how you remember me, but I've spoken to this guy before.
Yeah, you're all right. I told you to look after yourself. I didn't want you getting used with Deck, and that's why I reached out to you. I seen you in a bad place at the time. I didn't want you to be the next equalizer. I didn't want you to be.
It could have happened. It could have happened.
It could have happened. It was going to happen. But I'm glad you're all right. You've got my number. I'm still in Messenger, mate.
Yes. Oh, fucking hell. It's mad how you remember me. You taught us for about 2 hours on video call, lad.
I did so. I seen you were in a dark place, mate. We've all been there, eh?
Very dark. Still there at the moment, but I'm trying. Like I want to be a drugs worker, me on.
I seen pictures of you with your little one. You went and seen your little one, I think, at your sister's.
Aye.
Yeah, well done, pal.
Oh, you want to be a drugs worker? Do you mean a probation worker?
You're like, no, I like a drugs worker to help people off drugs and that.
Yeah, the probation. I used to work with the probation before I worked with the police. With is
that SVQ3? I think you need, is it? And I'm not sure.
What?
Is it an SVQ3 to go in as a kind of mentor? No.
No, all that I did, I just applied for the job, got it.
The course on.
No, I never had to go on the course, but I applied for it, and it was actually I really enjoyed it. It's just that Sod's Law stepped in, had a bad manager, and everyone was leaving the place, and we know where we were, which was fantastic. The old White Star building in Liverpool, it's pink and white bricks, where Ismay used to have his office, and we were in there, beautiful place, and it was actually, I really did enjoy it because I met some amazing characters, and when I went into the police, it showed that I'd been in probation, because the police tend to look at drug users as being someone, or even ex-drug users as just being criminals to be dealt with, and they tend to talk to them like dirt.
We're not people with dirt, just people with problems, and do you know what I mean?
Oh, I know. Well, I used to treat everyone the same. I didn't care if they were coming in signing on the book because they were in trouble for drugs. I didn't care, and I used to know what people were like from working with the probation. So I got like a fan club there. They'd insist they'd wanted to see me if I was on duty to sign on, because they could talk to me. But yeah, it was a fascinating job, but just because the manager was everyone was leaving, it was just like rats abandoning a ship, and I thought, I'm going to get out of here. And that's where fate dealt me a horrible blow, because the job that I got, the application I got, was with the Merseyside Police, and that led on to a nightmare of years where they nearly took me up. Like, it was that bad, but at one point. But the good thing that happened, I remember the manager, the top manager there, she was very bright, and she said to me before I went to the Merseyside Police, she said, look, she said, if I get rid of this manager, she said, I can't say too much here, but she said, if I demote her, get her out the building, she said, will you stay with us? And stupidly, I said no. But again, she still demoted this manager. So the manager got the end of it. But let's put it this way, and having been a drug user won't go against you going in that job, because actually the fact is, if you have got experience of using drugs and getting off them, you'll know the job better.
That's what I was doing for. And all my life, I've used substances since 1991. You know, being heroin addict, alcoholic, and that, done loads of crime for drugs and stuff. And now I'm at the other end. You know what I mean? I don't do nothing. I've just had my baby's 1 year old in April. You know, so and I've been clean and that. I have had slip ups and that, right? But I know I could do it and that. And
well, even if you're using drugs when you're working for the probation service in treatment and testing orders, but back then they wouldn't sack you for it, because they'd say it would give out completely the wrong message.
Recovery,
people, yeah. So you used to actually get, though I didn't see any, but you could officially have someone, a probation officer, as a drug use themselves, but they'd have to be offered the help. They couldn't be kicked out. Where if they were in the police, it would be out the door. Well, that's what they say, but I used to get the suspicion there were lots of officers using. And
I haven't been in crime for over 5 years and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So
well done.
It's been well done, and that right, and I'm settled in that, and I'm just trying. You know, you've got to try. There's no point just sitting down doing nothing about it. I'm full of mental health. I've got a borderline personality disorder, and I'm full of mental health. Cool, but I'm just trying my best. You know what I mean?
See, and that's just why I reached out to him, because he was in a right dark place before Christmas, and I could see him get put in there, and I didn't. I knew he would maybe get a better recognition from Decker at the time, but it's been the wrong Decker. You see what I'm saying? And I video called you, didn't I? I just video called you. I got you in Messenger, and I spoke to him for a couple of hours, and I could see where he was. It
was fun. It was fucking entertainment for me, mate. It was kind of mad how you realise is who I am without the mask on, you bastard.
They don't swear and doesn't like swearing. I don't mind it so much, but I'm trying not to. I'm trying to kind of get my.
Is it my accent? Is it my accent?
Yeah, some things you can't change.
Heather's
good at it. Heather's good
I was born, you knew who I was.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Now my accent's like really drifted. It's because I've lived in London for like 13 years, so I like say tomato, and I say sorry a lot.
Can I just clear one thing up because my dogs are looking at me here?
I'm Cajun ethnicity.
So the Geraldine story, and I want to clear that up with you. So Richie Picking, right, and the boys get bipolar. He put his medical card up. Now, Richie was very much pro Decker at the point.
Humble.
Wait a minute. Just what's happening is one's jumping in. Let one get it out, then the other one, because it gets really confusing when people keep on jumping in.
Go.
Yeah, go on, Humble.
So basically, Richie does his ghost hunting groups and everything over in Northumbria. He's got, I think, Northumbria ghost hunting, blah, blah, blah. So Richie, borderline personality, bipolar, several mental health problems. He was going to be the equalizer then. We're going back to 2019 or something. Again, we reached out to Richie. We spoke to his missus, and she was a victim of sexual abuse when she was younger, okay? So certainly had experience in that fold. And she was kind of angry. Anyway, Richie helped for a while. But it was at the time when it was just after Decca went on to Sean Atwood's podcast, and it came with a vengeance. So Richie get kind of singled out, right? And I witnessed it. I seen it unfolding. He was nearly getting sectioned at the time, and he took advice from Donna to take his psychiatrist, stopped him getting sectioned. But in the back of that, he was getting harassed to death off Decker, okay? Now, this is where Richie cleared this up at Christmas. We never asked him. A video popped up just before Christmas this year where he admitted the money that I sent Richie, he dropped. He was always doing videos when he was doing the dishes, and his phone fell in the sink. Now, because him and his partner live separately, he sees his kids 3 days a week, so he's 4 days a week where his only communication is his phone. I sent him £150 from my business account, £150 from my personal account to get a phone. Okay, people got inside Richie's head, and Richie then put. I'm not sure if he done a video, but he certainly said that I paid him and I paid Geraldine to make these false allegations up. Right, I can wholeheartedly, my hand in heart, on my kids' lives. I've never met Geraldine, let alone put money into her bank. The GoFundMe at Christmas sale that was set up by Anthony, I wouldn't even put a penny in it because I didn't want somebody ever saying, oh, at some point, see, there was money went from that account to your account. I've never met Geraldine in my life. Richie cleared this up, and I was glad that he did. But he didn't need to clear it up for me because I didn't want him getting picked on again, if you know what I mean. I'd have preferred him just to go and do his thing and just leave me deal with it. But again, the guy came good, and I've nothing else to say. I don't want. I forgive Richie. He was getting bullied. He was getting harassed. He was getting intimidated, and I just that is what it is. I'll take a lot of people's weight on my shoulders when I shouldn't be. But sometimes you just need to do it.
So what are you saying, PLW?
I knew this that Richie Pickering on BBM. He used to be a big fan of BlackBerry Messenger and that, and he used to slash up on that a lot. Because my girlfriend that I was with at the time used to talk to him, and he wasn't a full shilling him. Mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I didn't want that happening again.
Very victim, really, because he could just like take the piss out of him, and he wouldn't do nothing about it. So obviously, Humble's looked after him, and he sort of thing. Good stuff, because like a lot of other people would rob him for the money that he's got. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I didn't mind carrying the damage that it said for him to get an easier life, and I can that might sound a bit stupid.
He caused you a lot of problems as well, though.
That's what it is. At the time, my face wasn't out there because I'd asked the public if they wanted to see me, and it was the people in Carlisle who voted no. I was to stay anonymous because I'd just get hit with a gagging order, and I took their advice for 2 years.
But what was good when he says, "You're going to expose me? I'll expose me fucking self, you daft cunt."
Well,
Do you mind if I ask a question? Because maybe I'm just like, I don't know, a little dumb and behind or whatever, but I'm just like kind of curious about, I don't know, because I'm all like, it's a lot of puzzle pieces for someone like me to like put together what exactly is going on. And even like the name, the humble dryers and stuff like that, that was something I wasn't familiar with, but I'm trying to understand. So I've seen the pictures from that like horrible Decahegi expose, which was just hilariously like bad in so many like ways, just execution wise and all around. But there was like some picture of the humbles, and it was just like a bunch of nice looking people. You almost look like you're on a bowling team or something with like humble dryer shirts. So I'm trying to understand, because I hear that you're, funding certain things that you to help people. So I'm trying to understand, is like the humble dryer thing, is that kind of like is that tied to like you've made a group kind of and you fund certain things? Because I definitely hear that you're not like sitting there funding people to like make up false accusations, but I hear you have some kind of organization, some coordination where you fund certain projects or people to help out. It sounds like in a good way. Is that fair to ask? Because I'm like kind of
well,
understand the humble dryer.
Anna, you okay?
If that makes sense.
The humble dryer. The reason the humble dryer came up, I know it's a bit stupid, but it was a video Danny made, and I didn't know Danny was actually in prison when let's say the humble dryer was created, and Decker had given himself the name of being a humble man. Now Danny had made a video and said, "You don't take that pretense. Somebody gives you that. You're a proud man. You don't call yourself a humble man. You're more like a effing humble dryer." So up to humble dryer. And
yeah, I like the name. That's good.
The hoodies that was allegedly sold at a fight club, that's lies. There only was ever 10 hoodies, and I sent them to people. Some were victims, some were supporters. I never took any money for them. And people.
Well, that's cool. I was just wondering, like, it just seems like, because I'm around. I live in a place where there's activism and all kind of stuff. So it seems like, but you will fund stuff here and there, like you mentioned, certain things like I think 350 pounds to like DRNG. So you will fund various bits or like this and that for projects or people too. Is that like what there's like a kind of a group of that you support? Is that what I'm getting? Like
we haven't the personal money that's ever came from my bank account was to help pay for Danny's legal fees at one point, because the GoFundMe got sabotaged to pay for his legal fees the first time. And then I sent money to Anthony Burkett, £50 to get him a breakfast one morning when he was going to, somebody was taking him to the police station, because the boy offered me it back. Other things, if I see somebody needing, I've got it there. If my cupboard's sitting full of food and my neighbour's sitting with half a cupboard, yeah.
But you do look like a really nice bowling team. It does look great. I liked when the sweaters were together. I would like to have a humble dryer bowling night. That would be great. But thank you for answering that. Because I was just, I think it clarifies about, when there's these things going around about money going around and stuff. If you're being very clear about that, and it's like I think that's very helpful in all like untangling all of this, right?
Well, what I'm going to do, right, because this has been going on for nearly 3 hours, I'm going to start wrapping this up now, because I'm knackered. I'm tired. I don't usually do big. No, I do long things. Plus, yeah, you've got 20. This is it, right? You've got 20 hours a month to do it, and I've got to do other ones. So if we want to carry this on in the next one, we can do when we do on Saturday, the quiz show. We can do it then. But what I'll do is I'll thank everyone for jumping on. Thanks that we've cleaned things up.
Thank you for kind of clearing that up. I just want to state that the honest truth, and that I've always been fair with me, and until tonight you've been very fair with me as well. Yeah. So I want to clear that up as well.
But can I ask you to take this message of peace, to Uncle Bobby from me?
Yeah.
Just as message of peace. And stick that, mate. But anyway, so thanks for that. So see you all again, and all in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Bye bye. Thank you, Heather. Bye bye now.
Everybody. Bye bye.